In session, Pledge of Allegiance, moment of silence, public service announcements. Then we will proceed to 4 public hearings, two beginning at 6:35 p.m. Regarding installation by National Grid of 2 JO poles on Charlton Road at the intersection of Picker Road and Charlton Road. Then move to the next National Grid public hearing at also at 6:35 at the intersection of Putnam Road and Podunk Road. And then we'll move at 6:40 to another National Grid public hearing regarding the installation of 32 JO poles, 3 JO poles, Podunk Road at the intersection of Putnam Road and Podunk Road. Then on again to 6:40. A petition by National Grid to the board to install 8 JO poles at the intersection of Putnam Road and Highway 49. At the conclusion of the 4 public hearings, we will move to the department head report by the police department, a town administrator's update of a bi-weekly memo and discussion of water and sewer potential rates. Then we will proceed to action items. Consideration and possible action on the application for a temporary dock at 300 Clark Road Extension. Then we'll move B, consideration of possible action on the April 8th, 2024 annual town election warrant. We'll then move to C, consideration of possible action on the appointment of Jenny DePerez to the Special Events Committee. We'll move to then D, consideration of possible action on a conservation land special use application / permit for New England Bike Mountain Association Mountain Bike Adventure Series for group mountain bike rides on June 15th, 2024 from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Leadmine and Riverlands. Then we will consider and move to E, consideration of possible action on the generous gift of 12.25 gift cards from to Stop & Shop from Ann Fisher and Martin Drexage. Then item F, consideration of possible action on the human resource and payroll generalist revived job description and grade change. Then to G, consideration of possible action on the chair to sign the proposal for the professional engineering services Phase 2 Stormwater Program FY23 Stormwater Assistance with tie and bond in the amount of $100,000. Then we'll move to item H, consideration and possible action on the revised facilities coordinator job description to align with the classification study. And then I, consideration and possible action on the revised custodian job description and grade change. J, consideration and possible action on the revised information technology specialist job description and grade change. K, consideration and possible action on adjusting employee health care co-share. L, consideration and possible action on the 2024 seasonal liquor license for Hemlock Ridge Golf Course, Lee Palmer, located at 220 Holland Road. And then M, consideration and possible action to open the annual town meeting warrant. We will then move to old business, which we have additional discussion on policies and procedures on notification of water usage. Additional discussion on 425 Main Street, water usage and abatement. We'll then move to new business, correspondence, approval of minutes, citizen forum, executive session, and adjourn. So with that, would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I also would like to have everybody please join me in a moment of silence, or join the board in a moment of silence, and just please keep your thoughts on the unrest in Europe and the Middle East. Thank you. All right, public service announcements. Mary Lou.
Yeah, actually, I saw on social media that the police department was trying to promote their Are You OK program again. And I just wanted to let the older adults know in the community that it's a great program. If you live alone, it's a way that you can check in with the police department in the morning and just let them know you're okay. If you forget to call, they'll call you.
Case?
I have none, thank you.
None.
All right, and I have none. Okay, We are at 6:35, so we can begin with the first public hearing. Chase, if you wouldn't mind.
Yep. Town of Sturbridge Board of Selectmen public hearing. National Grid has made a petition of the Sturbridge Board of Selectmen to install 2 poles on Charlton Road beginning at a point approximately 230 feet southwest of the center line of the intersection of Picker Road and Charlton Road and continuing approximately 147 feet in a southwest direction. National Grid also requests permission to lay and maintain underground laterals, cables, and wires in the above or intersecting public ways. The poll hearing will take place on Monday, March 18, 2024 at 6:35 p.m. at the Sturbridge Town Hall, second floor, Veterans Memorial Hall, located at 308 Main Street, Sturbridge, Mass.
Okay, do we have National Grid? Come on down, please identify yourselves.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Zishu. I'm representing National Grid.
My name is Alexander Mutt.
Okay, so this first hearing is on the Picker Road and Charlton Road, continuing approximately 147 feet in a southwest direction. So can you please let us know what you're doing?
This is part of our larger project. So Duncan, North Sturbridge Road. These 2 poles in question, pole 79-50 that's on the petition, is going to be used to install new equipment for reliability on the circuit going all the way up Picker Road and then Podunk Road. And pole 78-50 is also being used to install new equipment along Charlton Road.
Questions from the board?
Well, I had asked Michelle this question earlier. Charlton Road is not a town road, it's a state road, so they really have jurisdiction over it. So have you been in contact with them?
Yes, I have sent in a permit request for the Mass DOT, so that is being worked on currently.
Okay, so we really don't need to take a vote on it. It's really up to the state.
Okay.
Okay, from Mary Lou, Chase?
I have a question about the poles. Is there a requirement as to how far away from the road that they are supposed to be?
I can answer that one. So there's not necessarily a requirement how far off the road. We do try to keep it in line with our current pole so that there's no additional forces pulling. So it would have to be in line, more or less, with our current pole line. But it would be within the right-of-way.
Thank you.
Okay, so so Mary, your point's that it's because it's 49 that state's in control and it
Right,
should
it's
be.
really moot, so we don't even
Yeah.
take a
Well,
vote on it.
it is a public hearing, so we'll invite people from the community to come up if anybody would like to speak on this topic. Would you? Oh, no. Yeah, if you'd like to come and just identify where you're from and. I mean, do you want to speak about the Podunk Road particular one? Yes. Oh, well, we can wait for the Podunk Road one then. Yeah, okay, sorry about that, that's my fault. Okay, so I think Mary's suggestion on this is no action. It seems to make sense to me unless there's Robin, do you have anything?
Nope, just close the public hearing.
Yeah, but is there any, okay, so with that, I think do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? All right, do we have a motion, or do we just want to stay it, or do we have a motion?
No.
No, nobody has a motion? Good. Yes. All right, so now we are moving on to the other 6:35 hearing, which involved, oh, Chase, please go ahead.
Yep, you got it. Town of Sturbridge Board of Selectmen, National Grid has made a petition of the Sturbridge Board of Selectmen to install 5 poles on Podunk Road beginning at approximately 60 feet north of the center line of the intersection of Putnam Road and Podunk Road and continuing approximately 1,000 feet in the southwest direction. National Grid also requests permission to lay and maintain underground laterals, cables, and wires in the above or intersecting public ways. The poll hearing will take place on Monday, March 18, 2024, at 6:35 PM at the Sturbridge Town Hall, second floor, Veterans Memorial Hall, located at 308 Main Street, Sturbridge, Mass.
All right, now moving on to this part of the project, what's going on, gents?
On that paper, does it say which poles on that one, just so I make sure I'm looking at the correct document?
Yes, it would say install 5 SO poles, if I'm looking at the right one, yep, at a point approximately 60 feet north of the center line at the intersection of Putnam Road and Podunk Road, and continuing approximately 1,000 feet in the southwest direction.
Okay. This one is also part of that same project connecting the solar field in Charlton. These poles are, I know poles 76, 77, 78, and 79 are all going to be new installs, going to be connecting through an access way that's going to be constructed on Podunk Road.
Okay, so questions or comments from the board?
No, I don't have any questions.
Trace, Mary Lou?
No?
I have none.
I would note, I think that our Conservation Commission noted that they wanted you guys to connect with them. Am
That's here if you want to.
Jeff, you
Conservation?
want to come up and just identify yourself?
Just to the board, Jeff is our interim conservation agent.
Been here a week. Jeff Howland, interim conservation agent. This plan does require, or this work does require filing with the Conservation Commission. Commission did issue a permit, local permit for them to do the test pits, which was issued last June, I believe.
Okay. Questions for Jeff from the board? Okay. Excellent. So, all right, from the community, do you want to come up and speak to this one?
Sure,
Okay.
because
Well, why don't you come to the mic and we can sort it out? And just identify yourself, please.
okay. Chris Williams, Podunk Road. Sturbridge. Love for many years. Confusion with poles that, one of the stakes that was placed almost at the end of our driveway at the corner of a hemlock hedge. And it's been there for years. We never knew what it was until we got these papers. But some people from your company came over the last couple of years. We were confused as to where, if that stake in the ground would destroy our hedge. We didn't want to see a pole in front of our home. And that's what we're concerned about. But Barry, my husband, figured it out today, and there are some questions that we have. There's only one part of the plan that is on the left side of the house going south that is in a little drive-through to our field. And we didn't want that there because, of course, we'd have to move the stone wall and, you know, it'd be a little problem.
So would it be fair to say that your question is about how they're placing the poles in relation to where the other poles are, and will they be disturbing or moving anything as a
Yes.
consequence?
Yes.
So, Jens, can you please speak to
And
that?
what we would like ultimately is a review with someone from your company. Is that possible?
Okay, so you guys, can you clear on what she's asking?
Yeah, could you confirm where on Podunk Road you live?
Yes.
It's
13.
13, you said?
It's about approximately 540 feet from the end of the road.
Okay, so you said 13 Podunk Road?
Yes.
Okay, I believe that's on the next petition. Like the current one we're addressing is at the very top of Podunk Road after you've crossed Route 49.
Oh, I see.
Well, but it could be that as it may. Can we
Yes,
just
be that-
sort of
be-
speak
yeah,
to
be
the whole
that as it
project
may.
to the- And we can get to the more specifics in the next part of the hearing.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
You got more to say, we'll let you. All right, so I mean, but you understand what our concern was?
Yes, I do,
So
yes.
how will the poles be placed related to the previous?
I'd say that if they have concerns, they can bring it up and we can review potentially moving the pole to another suitable location.
Okay, are the poles, so how many of these poles are replacing existing poles, or are they all brand new?
I believe, what I'm looking at now, looks like in front of her address, it looks like there's going to be 2 new poles that are going to be replacing one older pole.
Okay.
And that's due to the new poles having heavier wire, so they need to take the spans and make them a little bit shorter to make that work. With that said, because we have 2 poles that we can move around, we can potentially move them into a better spot for all the homeowners.
Okay, so and they're all staked right now, there?
They should be all staked, but with the winter, there's a good chance that they get taken down. If these are years old, there's a good chance that they're not standing anymore.
Could you please make sure that they are in fact restaked before anything happens, so people in the community know where it's going to be placed and can give you some feedback? Because if they don't know, how can they?
Yeah, the only thing would be they'd be staked, and then the road would also be painted with the pole number. And if those are both gone because it's been too long, then we can look into restaking.
Please. And other questions, comments from the board?
If I might, just generally, I know we're not talking about this, yours is the next hearing, but if you schedule a review with National Grid, just let us know, and if there's any confusion and it doesn't happen, or there's any issues, just let my office know, and we can follow up with our contacts. Town Administrator's office. So you could just come bang on my door or call and ask for Michelle, and we will, Michelle can give you my contact number. And we'll help coordinate it if for any reason there's some miscommunication.
So if I can add on to that, we don't have a really formal review process for these kind of things. I'm more than willing to leave my contact information for further discussion. If you need to bring it up to my supervisor, that's definitely an option as well, but we don't have a formal review. If it's on the right of way, we typically just go through the town per usual, so just so that's clear.
Okay. All right, so noting the additional processes at the conservation, do we have a motion? Oh, strike that. What's up? Oh, we have more people. Oh, okay.
My name is Julie Mina, and I reside at 13 Putnam Road. This is my husband. So this one is particular to the 5 SO poles on Podunk Road that would then go on the, I would say, abandoned road behind our house. Initially, when this was heard in front of the Conservation Commission, it was to get soil samples. As part of that proposal, they had also discussed taking down over 50 trees back there, which would open us up more to 49, which we kind of enjoy the barrier of the trees. And so I don't know where that left off. The last we did know was it was approved to take hand samples of the soil to be tested, but that was all that had been approved. So we have concerns, I guess, like about tree removal, if these poles are going in, exact placement of these poles. I mean, we had our house built now almost 2 years ago. What is that going to do to the value of our home? I get, like, there's just so many questions. We have 2 little kids. You know, bringing these poles in, what does that do? Like, high tension wires, is that going to, you know, do anything as far as like health concerns and things like that? I think it just brings a lot of questions about, like, I wouldn't have built had I known they're going to take down all these trees, because it's obviously not buildable land. There's wetlands back there. So those are just some of the questions and concerns that we have.
And the last time, just to add on to it, when they wanted to take down the trees, Mass DOT had said no. That's why it was the hand sampling that they had to do.
Or not to take, yeah, so it was only agreed by Mass DOT to do hand samples. They actually wanted to do soil borings, I think it's called, and DOT had said no, not to bring in the truck for those samples.
Okay. So in terms of tree removal, and part of this project, what will be occurring?
So I can kind of touch on that. As an overall general statement, the purpose of this is for the interconnection, obviously. We try to do least cost to the customer.
Please just one person talking at a time, please. Go ahead.
So we try to have least cost to serve the customers. So this is probably the most cost-efficient way. Of course, we adhere to all of the bylaws that the environmental departments have as well. We have our environmental scientists as well. So anything is definitely going to be approved. And to address some of your concerns, the high-tension wires, it's not going to be a detriment to anyone's health. And the wetlands will definitely have to adhere to whatever MDOT has to say as well.
But I guess the more specific question is how many trees are, I understand your point. You're gonna, we have a conservation process in town and you'll adhere to them. But just from, especially for the people at home who might not know what this looks like, what amount of trees you're removing? Do you have any sense of it? What's the extent of the impacts on the area?
So we typically hire contract crews to take down trees, so we could definitely just do a survey. So we're not going to take anything down, just kind of count how many trees and kind of do a survey, and I could get that done, so we can figure out how many trees are being removed.
I think maybe if I might, maybe if you could, after you do that survey, mark those trees.
Sure.
And then as a town, maybe, even though there's no formal process through planning or site review on something like this, myself, Jean, Conservation, could just go take a look at what's proposed to come down and if there are any concerns. They may have to take some, obviously, to do the project reasonably, but if there are some that, just aesthetically or just quality of life that we can work around, we're happy to just work collectively with all of you on that.
Yeah, 50 plus in the original, I think, proposal that went to conservation is a very big concern for us. I think it would also open up that access road, potentially bring in, right now, nobody really goes back there because it's kind of an old abandoned road and maybe kids would find it to be a party spot or something like that down the line. And so opening it up to more public view.
Okay, from the board, any thoughts or comments? I think, there would be some, I wouldn't want to say fair, but the conservation probably have on the tree part of it, they'd have a lot, or frankly, more say than we do. Because that really goes to the wetlands, and it's a little outside of our sort of scope of it. So with that, do we have a motion? Do you have anything else to say?
No.
Anybody else from?
I did also just get a little notation from the back of the room. The tree warden will also be involved in this, so thank you. DPW is back there, so she's listening intently with us.
Claudia Norton, I reside at 11 Putnam Road. I built my downsized house on this plot of land, so I had hoped that would be very private, surrounded on 3 sides by trees. So now it's very disappointing to hear that there's going to be much tree removal and activity. So I don't think that Julie and AJ's question was answered about...
You want to move a little closer to the mic.
...about the power lines and the safety concern. So I spoke with a friend of mine who's a licensed electrician who installs solar fields. And he explained to me that they are probably high-tension power lines. They emit heat, and they'll probably emit some humming sound as well. They'll also have some form of radiation that we should be concerned with. So what can you tell me? What data do you have available to share and explain about how we would be affected by that?
Well, we don't have any current data, given that we were given the question today. But
I did call Joe Carroll in advance, who is our representative from National Grid. Did he not convey my inquiry onto you?
Well, let's just, we understand your point. So her question is that, have there been inquiries of these type of lines and the amount of radiation that they throw to have any adverse health impacts on the...
I'm not aware of any.
Yeah. So
I can go over the basic construction if that would help with you.
So I did inquire, can the lines be all installed underground? Because are you going to go above Route 49 to cross, or are you going below?
It's going to be above. There's going to be one pole on either side, and it will be stretching the entire gap of Route 49.
Are you also planning on extending the road onto Route 49?
I do not believe the current plan is to go all the way to Route 49. I think Mass DOT does not want the access way to be driven on from Route 49.
I also asked Joe Carroll about the installation of a gate to prevent people from walking through down there. I live next door to a lot of land, and my neighbor has given me permission, and there's considerable dumping there. And I'm talking about building materials, painted floorboards with nails protruding, lawn chairs, bags of trash, and so forth. And I pick it up and I put it in my garbage. That's not providing an open, secluded area is going to allow much of the same activity. And also the presence of people, the area is now rather covered and not obvious. Once trees are removed, it's going to be much more obvious. And when I've inquired, BSC Group advised, well, we should phone our local police department if there's any issues. That's going to wear thin. It's not a very effective way, so we'd much prefer it to be gated.
It's just really hard for us to have gates. The whole purpose of the access road is for our line trucks and linemen to be able to access these things. And in the event of an emergency, that could be potentially life-threatening. Or, for example, in the middle of winter, when there's thousands of customers out, we can't have something like a gate, in our way typically for these kind of things. So that's just what I'm thinking of off the top of my head.
So I access wildlife management areas that are gated, and there is a code on the gate that is readily available that we can use, and for the Army Corps areas that I visit. So is that a possibility as well? And that way, the access can be given to a handful of people and not the general public.
I could definitely look into that.
Thank you, that would be very helpful. And is there plans for restoration of the trees? Tree removal?
So I wouldn't say so, just because the whole purpose of taking down the trees is because our wires and is typically on cross arms that have a larger span than the pole itself. So any trees that are nearby, especially during the snow or wind or rain, could definitely be energized, and it'd be pretty bad for everyone around it. So that's why we try to keep trees and branches away from our equipment and our wires.
But are there a variety of trees that don't grow as tall around the power lines and can be placed in such a distance, yet provide privacy and keep the, provide a sound barrier and a dust barrier as well?
That's something I definitely have to check in with my environmental department.
Going to the tree part, that would also be informed by the conservation process, where
Yes.
they probably have a little bit more say over all that than we do.
And just to confirm, this project has not been approved yet by Conservation Commission.
Correct. There was some initial process, and if any action is to approve it tonight, we will consider whether or not to have that contingent on conservation's approval.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else from the community want to speak their mind on this? All right. With that, does the board have any thoughts on the next steps? Very good.
I just want to say, I think this last resident's request to have some type of gate that's accessible by code is a reasonable request. I don't know if that's within our power when we approve it to condition it on a gate, or how much discretion do we have to impose different requirements on the installation?
And pardon me, because there are so many parties involved here. The access road itself, is a portion of that, I believe, is the town's, and a portion is the state's?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so I believe, given that both, if the gate is between the state and ours, I don't think we can arbitrarily put the gate. The state would also have to, the Commonwealth would have to agree. We can't gate their end, one end of their road, if you will. And ours is technically a public road, even though it's not cleared, and we can't block, it's very challenging to actually block public access on a public road. Unfortunately, that's one of the challenges with this. So we've even run into it on private roads. It's a problem to block public access, so it's even harder on public roads. So we would have to look at the legalities. In theory, it sounds good, and if the state would agree to it, we're going to have to confirm if legally we can put a gate.
That was my question, so maybe we
I'm
can
not
look into
sure
it.
on a public road that we can, unfortunately, but we definitely can ask the question.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get anybody's hopes up. I am a little concerned that that just might not be something we could do, even if both parties approved.
Okay, anything else, Mary? I know you were...
No.
Anything else from the board? Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Do we have a motion on the merits of the hearing?
Okay, let's see, this is the 5 SO poles on Podunk, right?
Correct.
Okay, I make a motion that we grant permission for the poles on Podunk, conditioned upon review by the Conservation Commission and National Grid doing everything they possibly can to work with the citizens in the town to address any concerns.
Okay.
I'll second that.
And for the clarity of the record, these are the 5 SO poles on Putnam Road and Podunk Road. Okay. And all those in favor? Guys have it. All right, we are moving now to this third hearing, 640. Chase, if you could do it.
I'll just keep rolling. National Grid has made a petition to the Sturbridge Board of Selectmen to install 3 JO poles on Podunk Road, beginning at approximately 120 feet southwest of the center line of the intersection of Putnam Road and Podunk Road, and continuing approximately 280 feet in a southwest direction. National Grid also requests permission to lay and maintain underground laterals, cables, and wires in the above or intersecting public ways. The poll hearing will take place on Monday, March 18th, 2024 at 6:40 p.m. at the Sturbridge Town Hall, second floor Veterans Memorial Hall, located at 308 Main Street, Sturbridge, Mass.
All right. So, you know, doing these hearings a bit separately, that does get a little redundant, but the, is this part of the project distinct in any ways from what we discussed?
It is, it's part of the same project. I believe all of the petition hearings today are part of the same project, correct?
Based upon that, do you have any additional comments that we haven't heard?
I don't have anything additional to add for this one.
The community, anybody have anything additional to add to this particular part? No? Any? You coming?
Well, evidently I don't hear it so well.
Oh.
So I hope we're talking about the same thing. I'm Mary Ann Bean, I'm 148 Podunk Road in Sturbridge. Are we talking about that now?
That section,
That section?
the way these are laid out is very confusing in terms of which section of the road we're talking about at which particular time.
Well, we agree with you.
Does anybody here have a clear picture of this, including you guys, as to what we're talking about?
Because you're saying 5 poles, but I see 8 in these pictures that I'm
Well,
looking
that's
at.
the next one. There's 8 in the fourth one, but be that as it may, the point is...
No, I want to go up when I'm supposed to. I don't wanna
Well, it's too,
interrupt.
but I think it's an important point, though, because we have a project that has, the first hearing was for 2, then there's 5, and then there's, what's the next one? 3, and then there's 8. And so,
It would be great to have a big map that kind of laid this out more clearly, but
That's okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll come back up when it's
sure,
8.
that's fine.
Mr. Chair?
Of course, yeah, go ahead, Mary.
So, yeah, a map probably would have been helpful for a lot of us. I'm wondering how do you determine how far in from the center line of the roads where you're going to place them? Because I know the first one's 230 feet, the next one's 60 feet, the next one's 120 feet, and then the one with the 8 poles is 900 feet, and it's always from the center line of the road. So how do you determine that?
Let me just make sure I have the right.
You know, they're all set back a different distance from the middle of the road, and I mean, they're not going in a straight line, right? I mean,
I believe that they'll all fall within the public right-of-way along Podunk Road and Putnam Road.
oh, I understand that, but my question is, what makes one 230 feet from the center line of Picker and Charlton, and the other one 60 feet from the center line of Putnam and Podunk? The other one's 120 feet from Putnam and Podunk, and the last one is 900 feet from the center line of Putnam and Highway 49. So I'm just wondering,
I believe that one, for me, my understanding is that it's the total distance from that road's intersection to the end of the poles that we're proposing. Like the actual distance from that intersection to the last pole on the proposal. So for the 8-pole scope, because that one is a much larger scope, that's why you're seeing a bigger distance there.
so you're saying the 8th pole is 900 feet, but the other 7 poles are not 900 feet?
No,
I'm sorry, I'm not following.
The distance is 900
The
feet,
distance.
not
Right, I
off
get
the side
that.
of the road.
But I guess what I'm asking is, how do you decide how far in you go? I know they're on the public way.
Yes.
But how do you determine that? They all differ. And so what's the determining factor for deciding how far in the poles go?
I see.
That's my question.
Usually what we'll do is we'll try to set them in line with existing poles. So if we have 2 poles and we're setting a new pole, we'll try to keep that as far off the road as the other 2 are. And that way we are keeping all the poles in line, and we are going to minimize any additional support structures we'd have to get easements for.
Well, I can kind of.
Okay, so of all the, so we have 13 and 5, 18 poles. How many of those are replacements and how many of them are new?
I believe out of these, all of them are
All
new.
should be new. Because replacements, we wouldn't need a
Are they all going where a pole already was?
Not all.
no, they're all new poles.
Okay, so remember you said you just said that you make the determination to go where an existing pole was.
Sure, that's
But
what
in
I
this
kinda-
case, that's not the scenario, so
Sure,
how did you
so-
decide where to put the poles?
I was actually really confused of it as well. It's just really the verbiage of it. Every town does it. I worked in Maine before. They do the same thing. The verbiage states that it's however many feet north or in whatever direction of the center line of the intersection. So in that specific paragraph or sentence, it's saying from the center line of the intersection of the road. But obviously some of these are not nowhere near the intersection. So it's going to be 900 feet, 300 feet. However, if you look at the images themselves, the poles themselves, when it says CL or LL, I believe that's center line lead length, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's correct.
So you'll see that those actually reflect a lot better. You'll see sometimes it says 10, sometimes it says 30, and that's just due to the nature of the road. But I don't think any of these are going to be like a 900-foot center line. The 900-foot center line is just from the intersection.
Okay, so they're all getting placed probably equidistant from the road.
Yes, more or less, depending on the.
Okay, so,
I'm sorry for the confusion.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
so the ones that are 900 feet are not deeper than the one that said 60?
No, they're
It's
just
just
farther.
in reference to the center of the road?
Correct, that's just a reference.
Okay.
And I think you'd mentioned there that, and maybe it's this particular project, I think we were talking earlier, you said it was about a 2-to-1 ratio at that particular project, that you were replacing one pole, and then you'd be having 2 additional poles because the equipment was heavier. Is that a fair statement?
So it really depends on which section. It's different wires, different equipment, different poles, different topography. So, but for the most part, if we are to install new poles, it's really to uphold our new equipment so that it's not going to fail if we install it onto our old poles as well.
But you're still running on the old poles, you're just not putting...
Yes, so I believe that on this project, most of the older poles are being upgraded with newer poles to hold the equipment, and the newer poles that are also taller. And the need for the new poles in between them that we're setting is due to the new equipment standards and the heavier equipment.
Can I ask a question? If I do recall when we first started talking about this last summer, Grid had indicated that this would likely provide better, more consistent service as well for outages.
Yes.
So whatever you're upgrading will also upgrade the quality of the service that we get, because we do have outages
Yes.
in that area.
So to clarify, the whole purpose outside of the solar field interconnection of this job being even started was because the service in that area is just not good. It's not reliable. So if it's not clear, we are replacing the existing poles that we have right now to have our new equipment. But to replace a pole, I don't believe we need to have a petition for it. We're able to replace in kind.
Yeah.
So we are putting thicker, taller poles to support the heavier wires and the better equipment. So that's really the other half of this as well, if that's...
So we will see that benefit
Yes,
still?
yes,
Okay,
definitely.
nothing has changed on
So for
that.
anyone that's along this road
Yeah.
that is here for the petition, all of the equipment on that road is going to be upgraded. So everyone along the upgraded wire is also going to have their services upgraded.
Because we do get a lot of calls on that. That's-
Yes,
that's
we
a
know.
fact. Yeah.
Okay, anything else from the board? All right, anything else from the community on this one? The third one? All right, do we have,
A
all
motion to close the public hearing.
right, do I have a second?
Second?
All those in favor? All right, do we have a motion on the merits of the hearing?
I'll make a motion to approve the 3 JL poles on Podunk Road beginning at approximately 120 feet southwest of the center line of the intersection of Putnam Road and Podunk Road and continuing approximately 280 feet in the southwest direction. And I also request that National Grid works with the town people the best they can.
And review by conservation.
And review by conservation.
Yeah, and contingent on review by conservation. Do I have a second?
Second?
All right, all those in favor? You guys have it. We're moving now to the 640 hearing, second 640 hearing, which is to install 8 JO poles on Podunk Road at a point of approximately 900 feet northeast of the center line of the intersection of Putnam Road and Highway 49, continuing approximately 5,000 feet in a north direction. All right, gentlemen, anything additional on this particular? Oh, strike that. Yeah, you have to read it.
National Grid has made a petition to the Sturbridge Board of Selectmen to install 8 JO poles on Podunk Road beginning at approximately 900 feet northeast of the center line of the intersection of Putnam Road and Highway 49 and continuing approximately 5,700 feet in a north direction. National Grid also requests permission to lay and maintain underground laterals, cables, and wires and the above or intersection public ways. The poll hearing will take place on Monday, March 18, 2024 at 6:40 PM at the Sturbridge Town Hall, second floor, Veterans Memorial Hall, located at 308 Main Street, Sturbridge, Mass.
Thank you for that, Chase. All right, now that we're moving on to this project, is there anything additional that you guys would like to say about it?
No, this is still the same project. It's just going to be upgrading the same type of wire as the rest of the project and all the adjacent structures.
All right, I think this is the one you, come on now. And please just state your name and address for the record.
We're Wyatt and Mary Ann Bean from 148 Podunk Road. We don't actually have any of the poles directly in front of our house, but we were notified as part of the overall group, I assume. But I have a couple of questions. One, when is this, assuming everything was to move at the best pace, when are we looking at actually having this work done? Or commencing the project? I'm not looking for a completion date. I just would like to know when the services might be affected on the road.
It's really hard to say currently. If everything were to go through, I would say probably as soon as potentially summertime or fall.
Of this year?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you start on this work and you begin putting in new poles and taking down the old poles, or however it goes, you're going to have to move the services that exist to the new poles or install the new. How long is any individual or section of the highway going to expect to have power outages? I mean, depending on the season and so forth, that's important for us to know.
Yes, of course. So we wouldn't have any power outages in the wintertime without due proper notice, and that would, I believe, have to go through the city as well. And that's something we're not trying to do. But to answer your question, taking off the power, I mean, it could be done in a couple hours for it to be back, and there would obviously be a notice beforehand as well.
Okay. And repeatedly in these documents, it's talked about underground cables and going laterals and intersections, which I don't necessarily understand all the I'd like a little clarification. Is any of this going to be buried lines, or are they all going to be still up in the air?
I believe there's one section of underground cabling. There's a transmission line crossing on Podunk Road, and I believe
that where the power line trail is now across.
Yes.
Okay.
So that section is planned to be moved underground due to clearance concerns.
Really? Okay. Oh, you're talking about of the new lines, you're going to go underground with those because of the lines that's going to be over the top of them?
Yes, because of
Okay.
the high voltage overhead wires.
All right. And all of our telephone lines, not that most of us have hardwired telephones anymore, but some of us do, for one reason or another, and cable. We have a single supplier here in town. Which we love.
Competition.
But those lines are on those same poles. Does that get moved as part of this process, or are those guys going to have to fend for themselves?
So definitely, we are in contact with Verizon, and I'm not sure of the cable company here or what it is.
Oh,
but
it's
we're-
Spectrum.
Oh, Spectrum, great. So we are in contact with them even from day one. So once all these designs are cleared through, we do have a little form that we send to them so that they're aware that they have to come out and move all of their equipment from the old pole to the new pole, as well as get rid of the old pole.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, you say that you're putting in new service wires to the houses as well.
Not the service wires, so the equipment like transformers will be replaced.
So there's no transmission wires that are going from the street to the house that are going to be...
Not part of this project. I'm sorry for any confusion.
Okay, all right. So you're putting in heavier wires,
Yes, ma'am.
right? Why? What's your plan?
So I can tell you a little bit about the construction that we're planning on using. So we're planning on using tree wire down Podunk Road. So the idea is that you have a high tension wire that doesn't carry any power, and that's what actually attaches to all the poles. And then you hang your actual three-phase wires underneath that. And with that, the reason why it's heavier is because the idea is that if a tree branch or anything comes down on the line, the actual messenger cable can hold that tree branch and still supply power without taking the whole line down with it. So that's the idea for the heavier cables.
That high-tension line, meaning not the power transmission line itself, but the anchoring line.
Yeah, so
that's connected.
there's an anchor line that's tensioned, but the actual like electrified wires are not tensioned.
That anchor line that's tensioned is intended to protect the other lines, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
So how does that tie into what's going on Putnam Road? Because it seems to me like you're doing a larger construction project on Putnam Road for the future, for higher intensity wires or higher voltage wires or whatever they call it?
Are you talking about the new access way on Putnam Road? So the idea there is the actual connect. So as of right now, we don't have wires that are connecting North Sturbridge Road and Podunk Road on the north with Podunk Road on the south. So the idea is to install new poles lines to actually connect the north and the south sections of Podunk Road.
So that means that right now what happens is beyond Ladd Road, because we live right south of Ladd Road, that section of the road in that area has power outages. So now what you're saying is that you're going to make that jump from that side on the other side of Ladd Road to this side of Ladd Road, the south side of Ladd Road, so that we're all going to be on the same grid?
We are planning on installing protection devices along Podunk Road. So the idea is that if something happens north of the Highway 49, it won't affect anyone to the south of Highway 49. So there will be protection devices in place, so make sure that no one is, so that if one line comes down, it doesn't put everyone on the new line without power.
Okay, all right. So one of the other things I heard you say repeatedly is you're in the right-of-way of 60 feet. Is this, because not necessarily does the center line of our street really be the center line where the right-of-way is. Because I've had the tree warden out and we've looked at property lines and stuff like that, and the road just doesn't go that straight. So my concern is that if you're talking about 60 feet now, 60 feet from the center of the road goes into the 200-foot buffer zone from the back of my property that the city has, that it can come up that far.
So I think there must have been some sort of misunderstanding. The center line here in the document, it does state center line of the intersection between Putnam Road and Podunk Road in this instance. So that's from the center line from the intersection of those two roads. So it could be down one road 100 feet, and it would just be the intersection. So we would never go 60 feet from center line. That's way beyond the right-of-way. I've never seen a right-of-way that wide, so that's not something we would ever do.
Yeah, the idea is to keep the new poles at the same distance from the road as the existing poles.
Right, not on anyone's property, for the most part.
Okay. So you're going to be, I'm sorry if I'm taking up too much time.
Keep going, it's out there.
So you're going to be putting in these new poles. You're going to come down our street, heavy equipment, stuff like that. We just got a brand new road last summer. Let me tell you something. That's a pristine road. Very pristine. Are you going to leave it in the same pristine condition that it's in now?
I definitely believe so. Our line trucks aren't heavy enough to really alter the shape of the road.
Okay, because, you know, some of us are crazy enough to go out there and take pictures.
Sure.
Okay? Just want to let you know.
Definitely.
I think that's all the questions I have.
Thank you.
I thank you very much.
Anything else from the board based upon that?
Nope.
Anything else from the community? Come on. Oh, wait, just one second. You can go ahead.
So I think my other question, so, because I think what you were getting at is like, what is this whole project for? And I don't think that answer actually came out. So my understanding is that this entire project is really to tie in a solar field in Charlton, not Sturbridge, in Charlton, to tie it in for National Grid. So I guess my question is, what is the benefit for Sturbridge, really? Like, besides like disrupting, especially like removing the trees and all of that, and, you know, the road condition and everything else. So what is the benefit for Sturbridge?
Sure. So definitely a big part of the solar fields nowadays is obviously power generation. So it really helps us not install like a really big substation somewhere. And I don't have the maps available for the town of Sturbridge, unfortunately, but pretend Sturbridge ran on one substation, and that's all it relied on. If you guys have been receiving spotty power, especially the further away from the substation you go, if you're bringing in power from an outside generated source from a nearby town, that's just going to help immensely with the correct protection of devices. That's just going to help immensely with our power balancing. And that way, if for example, if something goes wrong, a whole block is out, potentially it could pick some load up from another side through protection devices and re-energize it without us even having to do anything. That's how great our new devices are nowadays. So the whole point of it is to have more reliable power.
Okay, well, I guess I do have a question then. Will this result in fewer power outages on those roads?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So, Mary Gibson?
I think you've already answered this question, but just, are the wires going to be carrying more power than they did before? So I know like there was a resident that was concerned with like the humming sound and possible radiation. Is it going to be more intense than it is right now, or is it going to be the same?
It's going to be the same as any three-phase wires that you see. So if you have anywhere in town that you see 3 wires, it's going to be around the same as that. The voltage is going to go up, but that's also going to increase the reliability for everyone along the line.
And how much is the voltage going up by? Like, what is the existing voltage and what is the new voltage?
I don't believe I have the old voltage, but I believe the new voltage is 13.2 kV.
Yep, 13.2 kV.
Do you have the initial one?
No, I do not.
Okay.
I think it should be the same if it's the same feeder. 13.2, so 13.2 kilovolt amps.
But what is it right now?
It should be
These
13.2
residents.
kilovolt
He said
amps.
it's the same because
Oh, you think
it's
it
coming
is
from
the
the same. Because what the
Okay.
point is because the power source going to the line, what it's carrying is the same, so it wouldn't increase. Would it
Okay.
carry more? Probably it's newer. But that's a little distinct, but the question is a little distinct on the road lines. With the access road, are you running heavier?
It's going to be the same wires that run along the rest of the town roads.
Okay. I think you had a comment? Yes. Just please say your name for the record.
Christy LaValle, 145 Podunk Road. Based upon the diagrams that I got in the mail, it looks like there's a pole going up right in front of my house. Is that accurate?
Let me check. So you said 145 Podunk Road?
Is there a stake in front of your house?
I did not see a stake.
So they would have staked it, and I think you said you would have spray painted the road?
Yeah, but there's a chance that if it happened a few years ago, there's a chance it's not there
Yeah, so
anymore.
it might need to be upgraded, but that's true for everybody in the room. Please look for stakes and look at the thing, and you are going to restake and repaint the lines, right? Right. So, go check.
If it seems like, and I just mentioned to this lady that I'd be happy to go out if we schedule a time, maybe, that we know Grid is going to go out and talk to the neighbors about these poles. That way, if there are any issues, we can all talk together, if that makes sense. So maybe over the next week or two, you can contact me. As you're going to go through conservation anyway, so you got a little time. Contact me, and then I will put something out either on our website or on my Facebook page and say, I will be out, we will all be out, National Grid, and we will all be out in that area on such and such a day.
Yeah.
And sort of do like a neighborhood meeting during the day out there and take a look with
But
that.
I think I distracted from the initial question was, will it be a pole in front of our house?
So you said 145, correct?
Yes.
I believe there's a proposed pole 38-50 that's going to be placed in between existing poles 38 and pole 39 along your
The
property.
existing poles are not currently in front of my house.
Okay.
How tall is this pole going to be?
So usually for this construction, it's a 45-foot pole that they will put into the ground around 7.5 feet.
Okay.
You're looking at a buried height of around 38 feet.
Yes.
Is there, may I ask a question on your behalf? So is there any way, because I know I wouldn't appreciate it if a new pole was going like directly in front of my house. Is there going to be an effort made to maybe put it not directly in front of this resident's house or not? Because you have two right now on either side of your house, is that
They're
what you
in
have?
front of my neighbor's houses, or in between by their driveways, I believe.
So they already.
This one looks like it's going to be right in front of my house.
So that's why I think if we go all out on a site and we can talk about whether or not it can get moved 15 feet one way so we're not blocking your living room window, and maybe we collectively can all come to some consensus as we're out there. They're going to have to put them probably somewhere in front of your property, but are there ways we can all talk together and just make it as limited of an impact as possible for all the neighbors? So why don't we just plan on coordinating an outdoor town, little mini neighborhood meeting with Grid?
Well, and that be that as it may, and I appreciate your effort, and I think that's a great idea, Robin. I would expect National Grid to make sure that it is not just placing these things willy-nilly, and that that residents who reach out don't run into what many people run into with National Grid, which is absolute silence. So that is really the larger point. Although I'd love the town to be involved, we have a certain amount of resources. Y'all should be working with the community to make sure these poles are placed. So with that, please make sure that there's good contact and access information of who someone calls, because as was mentioned before, calls were made and no calls came back. So with that, anything else from the board? Anything else from you? Anything else from the community on this? Last time to be heard. Okay.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Do we have a motion on the actual merits?
Okay, I'll make a motion that the Board of Selectmen approve the petition from National Grid to install 8 JO poles on Podunk Road, beginning at a point approximately 900 feet northeast of the center line of the intersection of Putnam Road and Highway 49, and continuing approximately 5,700 feet in a north direction. National Grid will also request permission to lay and maintain underground cable, laterals, cables, and wires above or it doesn't make sense, above or over, it should be, I believe, intersecting public ways, and with the usual conditions that National Grid get with people and address their concerns and review by the Conservation Commission.
Do we have a second?
Second that.
All those in favor? All right, the ayes have it. Moving to department head report. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, everyone.
Chief?
When you started, common sense would have dictated.
I had a lady ask me if the microphone was there so I could sing. I said, certainly clear out the room fast.
Yeah, you want to see me use my gavel.
Only you can dance too, Chief.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And I just asked everybody, we appreciate you being here, but let's just be quiet on the way out so we can hear the chief.
So I'll start with January's review. We answered 2,707 calls for service. We had 45 arrests or complaints, summonses. Out of those, 6 were OUI arrests. 37 crash reports, 32 incident reports, issued 155 citations, 55 motorist assists, 60 alarm calls, 665 business/house checks, 11 domestic disturbances, 7 B&Es, larcenies, or thefts, and we requested mutual aid from neighboring police departments 12 times in January. Operations continued business as usual. We had 3 crashes between Walmart and Extra Mart with 0 injuries during the month of January. 1 canine activation in town and 1 mutual aid call. Training continued as usual. And for the schools, Burgess, we answered 3 calls for service. One was a domestic that a child reported that happened at home, and it was ruled out as it was a communication barrier. It didn't even turn out to be domestic. So once we were able to get an interpreter involved, we solved that. 3 basic calls at the junior high, and we had a few calls at the senior high. Some threats on social media. Suspicious activity was a male party. By the time that was up by the school, but by the time we got there, they had already left the school. It was reported that he was on his phone. May have just stopped to use his phone. Assault and battery that took place on a school bus, and there was juveniles that were charged accordingly with that. And that's all I really have for January, if you have any questions.
Any questions? Nope. All right, Chief, I think we're on to February then.
Moving on, February. 2,245 calls for service, 44 arrests/complaints, 33 incident reports, 24 motor vehicle crash reports, 141 citations, 32 assisted motorists, 44 alarm calls, 562 business and house checks, 5 domestic disturbances, 2 larcenies, B&Es, or thefts. We requested outside agencies to help us 16 times, and we responded out of town to help another agency once. For operations, we did hold a pretty good tabletop exercise here at Town Hall with the town administrator and several of the departments involved for a mock hazardous material spill and how we would handle it as a town for the emergency management side of the house. And that went quite well. We had our CERT team in here, and it was very interactive. And it just gets you thinking about how we would handle situations like that. We do it once a year as part of our accreditation process, and it's funded through a local grant that we apply for through emergency management, so that was successful. We had 6 motor vehicle accidents between Walmart Plaza with an Extra Mart, and one of them had injuries. Installed 6 child safety seats, 1 canine activation in town, and 2 mutual aid callouts. No boat yet.
I was going to ask, when's that go in?
Memorial Day weekend.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and then training, the training is nothing major to report there. Burgess, 6 calls, which was a 911 trace, 3-foot patrols, an ambulance call, alarm call, fire alarm call. Junior high, we had 0 calls, which is great. And senior high, we had, looks like 4 calls up there. And one that was suspicious activity was, there were some 4-wheelers trying to get onto the football field, and they took off before we got there.
Finsky kids were out, huh?
Kids will be kids.
So that's it for February. We do have like Officer Devin Kingman, who you appointed about 6 months ago, is graduating the police academy Friday. So we're looking forward to going to his graduation Friday at UMass, and then getting him on the giving the weekend off. Then he's going to get to work.
Wow, already? That went by quick.
Yeah, it's certainly.
Probably not for him.
No, he's doing very well. Do you have any other?
Yeah, Chief, I just had a general question. I've been meaning to ask, you know, on the OUI arrests, I think there was like 10 to date, is that only alcohol, or do you also pull over for erratic driving with like marijuana smoking?
Yeah, it could be, it would be, the OUI would fall under drugs or alcohol for the OUI. So it could be operated under the influence of drugs, could be operated under the...
Well, no, you have a different one for drug arrests.
Right, but that's just a drug arrest, yeah. So if it was an OUI, it would fall under this category for drug or the alcohol.
Okay.
But I haven't split it up. A majority of them are alcohol related, but we do arrest for OUI drugs too.
Okay, because I mean, you know, I run on a regular basis, and almost every single time I run, at least one car goes by, 20 and 131, that's just reeking of cannabis.
Oh, yeah.
And I just wonder, how often do we pull over?
Oh, yeah.
Is that why you run?
No, I don't think it's funny. I know everyone's joking, but I really don't think it's funny, because I think people are very aware of drinking, but I can't tell you how many people are smoking while they drive.
And we've been very good about sending our officers to advanced schooling since marijuana's been legalized for advanced roadside impairment detection, so they're getting specialized training for the marijuana and other drugs that they can do tests, but there's nothing like the standardized field sobriety tests that have been given since I think the 70s or 80s across the United States. There's nothing really focused specifically on the drugs yet. They do try to do some stuff with HGN, some of the stuff you can't even testify to in court. So we always tell our people, hey, it's our job not to convict them, but to remove them from the roadway. So as long as we remove them from the roadway, if the courts say they're not guilty, you know.
Well, I don't care about the arrest. I just think a lot of people drive while they smoke.
Oh, you can smell it all the time when you're driving.
And I just didn't know how
It's crazy. You could be on a turnpike doing 65 miles per hour, and you could smell it coming from vehicles in front of you.
Right.
So.
I think you'd be surprised by how many people are drinking while they drive, too. It is pretty
Yes,
shocking.
but we're more aware of that.
No, I
You know what I
agree.
mean?
It's a concern.
Oh, yeah, no, there's little nips on the
agree.
side of the road all the time on 15 in particular, yeah. Okay.
All right.
All right, that's it. That's my only question.
Thanks.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
All right, we're on to town administrator update. Robin?
So I didn't put a bi-weekly memo because I had a couple of cover memos on different items. I do want to say I attended the Habitat for Humanity house key transfer, if you will, on Cedar the other day. I want to thank Jean Boubon, who's led this since, I think it was 2015 she started on this project with Habitat for Humanity. Really great event, beautiful home. Nice to see the keys turn over, and it was a good day, so thank you to Jean for her efforts on that. That does count toward our 40B housing, that house, which is also important from sort of more practical side of it as well. That being said, the other item on the agenda, and, you know, we could have as much discussion as you choose or not, I just wanted you to be aware, Heather is here if you have questions. We did some preliminary numbers on water sewer rates, and we just wanted, before we have the night that you actually do the rate setting, which is a separate night, we just wanted you to see where the preliminary numbers are coming in, so that if you had any questions or things you wanted to think about ahead of time, or you want to look this over, and you can individually reach out to questions that I can bring back collectively, however you all want to handle this, but I just wanted you to be at least aware of the preliminary numbers. The water is, I think, you know, sort of relatively okay. The sewer numbers, as we know, we need a lot of work on that sewer, the infrastructure. There's some maintenance work that has to be done to keep the system going. And I just wanted you all to be aware of that and just take a look at that ahead of time.
What's the board's preference? I mean,
Well, we have that separate time to,
yeah.
you know, it's, at a glance, I mean, will be up, but it's reasonable. I mean, we've had higher increase in the past.
And considering the larger cost of construction and
Yeah, I mean, it's,
bond ratings, it's just tough out there.
Okay. I just wanted you to have some time to digest. If, as you review that over the next few weeks, you have questions, just reach out. But I just thought you should see that ahead. Everything else in our budget, you know, with the 2.5 cap, there's never anything that's all too shocking, unless, God forbid, I was going to use that horrible override word, which I would warn you ahead of time on that, too. But in this case, with these rates, I just thought you should have a glance ahead, and I mentioned to the chair, and he agreed to put this on the agenda.
Sure. I mean, does the board have anybody else have any questions? Are you fine? Okay, I think that's it then, Robin.
Great, thank you. And that is it from me.
Okay, great. We're going to finally move on to our action items. Action item A is consideration and possible action on an application for a temporary dock from Ryan, I'm going to get to work on this, Sizakowski? Oh, I'm sorry, boss. At 300 Clark Road, Extension, Sturbridge, Mass. 01566.
Yes.
How are you doing?
Yep.
All right.
So Mr. Skowski's actually following the policy and applying for a temporary dock permit. As you know, we will be reaching out, we're beginning to catch up on these now as a policy, and we will be reaching out to people who have them to remind them they need to do this.
Okay. Questions from the board?
no, I don't have any question on the dock, but I could not find my thing on rafts. Because he's also,
Oh, I was going to do a raft. I'm not doing a raft anymore.
oh, okay, that answers my question.
Thanks, Carla.
20 feet's within the rules, so. Does anybody else have any questions or concerns? All right, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the application for a temporary dock for Ryan Sikowski, at 300 Clark Road Extension, Sturbridge, Mass.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, great. All those in favor? Thank you.
Nice and easy.
That's easy.
Thank you.
Do I get
Thank you for
something in the
doing
mail,
this.
or?
Yeah, thank you for doing it properly.
Some people don't, and I noticed you just bought the...
I just bought it, so
You just bought
I
it,
don't
so
wanna
you're
get in
doing it right.
Following the rules. We love that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're moving on to action item B, consideration and possible action for the board to sign the April 8th, 2024 annual town election warrant.
Pretty clear, cut and dry, and we have to do it.
Do you have any discussion?
I'll make a motion that we sign the April 8th, 2020 annual town election warrant.
All right, do I have a second? Is it the 18th or the?
April 8th.
Yeah, I'm sorry, today's the 18th. Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? The ayes have them. Okay, we're moving on to consideration and possible action to confirm the appointment of Jenny DePrez to the Special Events Committee for a term to expire March 18th, 2026.
So Mr. President reached out and indicated an interest in joining the Special Events Committee. She met with Terry and with the Special Events Committee, and did you get a
She
chance to
did,
meet
she
her?
came and observed one of our meetings. She's very excited about doing it. Young family, and she'll bring some new ideas to us, so.
So we certainly support and encourage this appointment.
Great. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we confirm the appointment of Jenny DePrez to the Special Events Committee for a term to expire March 18th, 2026.
Do I have a second?
Second that.
All those in favor? The ayes have it. All right, moving on to action item D, consideration and possible action on a conservation land special use application permit for New England Mountain Bike Associates Mountain Bike Adventure Series for group mountain bike rides on June 15, 2024, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Lead Mine and Riverlands.
So I asked Brandon Goodwin to join us tonight from Trails. Conservation, I believe, has supported this event. There is a letter from Fisheries, who holds the CR, asking for Conservation to approve, but I think it really meant you, pending some other contingencies that are sort of unrelated to the event. And we've had this situation before with other CR holders, and so I just wanted Brandon to come and address any questions that there might be about the event. He's familiar with both the trail sides, the CR, and restrictions that there might be on that CR or not.
Do you want a brief summary of what it is?
Please.
So the two property, Riverlands and Lead Mine, through the permit, he requested certain trails that they'd be riding on for the new NIMBA Association that's led by Nate Lane in town. So one of the things in this area is that there was less structure for the mountain bikers, and no one really wanted to run the New England Mountain Bike Association in this area, and so they're starting that up. And so we're finding that they're becoming a great partner in terms of going out and doing a lot of trail cleaning and trail maintenance and helping us build, berms, makes trails safer and things like that, of that nature. So it's been, the past year has been great in terms of, as this committee is formed, a lot of these riders have been coming out and engaging with us as the trail committee. So between the Riverlands and Lead Mine, they're going to ride on a set number of trails. They're going to use the village bus area on the backside as a starting point, and they'll go left or right depending on if they're going to go to Lead Mine or to go to Riverlands. And that's, they'll ride from 9 to 2. Different levels will ride in different trails and go in different directions. So that's the short of it.
Are those trails going to be closed to the general public for walking?
They'll try to block off the area so that it's to keep it more focused on the riding for that morning. Yes, for safety reasons and so on. I think we'll put Nate is very thorough, so you'll find that he'll have signs at the different areas telling people that there's a mountain bike event going on for the next 5 hours and so on. So the committee is working through all of that, but definitely we'll be blocking off areas for safety and making sure that there's not going to have a mix of a lot of riders and people walking dogs and so on, just for that morning.
No, that makes sense, because, if you're walking, the bikes go by pretty fast.
You want nothing to do with that, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I get it.
And I think to Robin's point, I think Opakam is the CR holder for the Riverlands, and we met with them last week, and Laney, I think, is in the back there. And so we're aligned with them, for riding on the Riverlands. The Riverlands is a work in progress project for us in terms of, we're finishing up that first phase of flow trails and still manicuring those trails and making them, getting them close to that end result that we'd like to see. But we talked last week about making sure that after the event, we go in and clean the trails and make sure they're safe and so on. And that's what the NIMBA organization will do. So they hold an event, they ride, and then they go in and actually clean the trails the next day and make sure that everything's back to what it was before. And then, and the same thing, so I think the other point Robin mentioned was with the state. So Lead Mine the CR is held by Mass Fish and Game. And so on that property, they've addressed the number of concerns around wetland crossings. And so it's sort of good timing for us, because we are working through a submittal to them for an NOI to put all the bridges and culverts we need in on that property, so that we have people out of the wetlands and not getting, removing all the muddy trails and things of that nature. So we're getting to a point where all the trails are fully sustainable, which is always our end goal. So.
Great. Any other questions, comments from the board?
No.
Do we have?
Laney, do you want to add anything, or?
I've had a letter just saying that the NEMA wonderful. He's very communicative, so I'm really excited. To this event.
Great. Thank you for coming.
Just out of curiosity, how many bikers strong do you think are going to be there?
I think
like 100 bikes, or?
I think it'd be less than that. I think most of that's a tough thing to answer, honestly, because they'll have signups, and Nate will have a handle on how many people there are prior. And so I think what you'll see is the larger the group, they'll send different groups in different directions to break it up a little bit, so you don't have a massive, one group of riders going in one direction. But people are very excited.
No, I think it's good if there's a lot of bikes, actually, because then we've been trying to tie in recreation with, some kind of using our restaurants and that kind of thing. So I think it's a good thing if we have a lot of.
Yeah, I think they'll fill the parking lot at the Village. I think they will. I think there's a lot of people that, we have had some people say that the flow trails are the best trails they've ridden in a down flow motion, from here to Boston. So it's something that is starting to draw people in, as we start to see them progress a little bit and so on. That's, and that's all word of mouth, but the mountain bike community talks a lot, and they share a lot of that information online. So I think we'll see a pretty good turnout.
Great. So with that, do I have a motion?
Okay.
I'd like to comment, please.
This isn't a public hearing, but if I will. No, the earlier hearings are public, but, well, if it's quick, you can come up at my discretion, but you have to come up to the microphone and identify yourself.
Hi, I apologize that I didn't realize this wasn't a public
No, it's okay.
hearing for this instance. My name is Elizabeth Newlands. I'm with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I work for the Division of the Fisheries and Wildlife, which, as your proponent indicated tonight, holds the conservation restriction on the lead mine conservation land. And that land was negotiated with the town and the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife to protect it in perpetuity. And the division purchased the conservation restriction with support from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And we're really pleased to hear that a notice of intent is planned for some of the stream and wetland crossings. But we've also been concerned about the number of trails that have been increasing on the property that are not consistent with a recreational master trails plan that the town prepared in 2012. And we very much would like to work with the town and the committees to see that all of the purposes of the conservation restriction are being upheld and that the multiple recreational values of the property are being kept for the public to enjoy. We recognize full well that a recreational trail network is a tremendous asset to the town. People can come and get a cup of coffee before they go for a walk, or like me, I go to BT's Barbecue and get something afterwards. But at the same time, there are some trails on the landscape that we have agreed in the past that would not be present, particularly south of the gas pipeline, to help buffer the wildlife management area to the south of the property, and also, again, to meet some of the multiple values of the property for wildlife conservation, as well as the recreation.
All right, thank you. I would suggest that this probably isn't the right forum, but if we could connect with Robin and just let us know. Okay, thank you.
Actually, on that, I did actually reach out to Todd on Friday to actually start those conversations.
You spoke with Todd?
No, I reached out to him.
Oh, I see.
So in line with all of this, so we can talk after. Because there are some unmarked trails on the property that have evolved over time, and they haven't changed probably in the last 5 or 6 years. A couple of them are to get around some of the wetlands, and a couple are for people who have done some stuff on private property that leads onto this property. So things that we have to work through. Yeah, definitely worth just stuff that we want to rein in, because we want to get this property to a point where everything is marked. Everyone knows where they are on the property. We don't have any incidents with people getting lost and having to knock down gates or anything else to get into the property. So.
Excellent. All right, with that, do we have a motion?
Okay, I'll make a motion that the board grant the permit for the New England Mountain Bike Association Mountain Bike Adventure Series for group mountain bike rides on June 15th, 2024, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on lead mine and Riverlands.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? The ayes have it. Thank you, Brandon.
Thanks for coming, Brandon.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Brandon.
All both for coming as well. All right, we are moving on to consideration and possible action to accept the donation of 12 $25 gift cards to Stop and Shop from Ann Fisher and Martin Drexage of Sturbridge. Unless there's any conversation, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Who will we give them to?
The senior center.
Senior center.
It
And
just didn't say that it was a senior center, I didn't know.
Yeah, and again, thank you to Ann and Martin for their generosity. Then we're moving to action item F, consideration and possible action on the human resource and payroll generalist revived job description and grade change.
So this went through the Personnel Committee. This was a job that was new. Just before I came, I believe the job had been approved. I think at the time, like any new position, we're not fully aware of the scope of the work. The scope has certainly grown. That position will be taking on more of the HR coordination of some of the workers' comp stuff. I think we're going to move down there, as well as general HR coordinating trainings to ensure that we're in compliance. It went through Personnel. Personnel did approve it, and I am bringing that forward to you tonight for consideration.
Okay, great. Mary, anything from Personnel on it?
No, it's as it says. I mean, and it was just a minor change in the job title.
Great. All right, with that, any other conversation from the board?
No, but I was hoping that we would talk, is this one of the part-time positions?
No, this is a position that's already here.
Oh, okay, that's what I
Stanley
thought,
Barber's
okay.
office.
It's, okay, it's right downstairs in Town Hall.
Yeah, it's currently filled, yes.
Okay, I didn't know what that official position was called.
Yeah, it was a payroll generalist, but it's been updated to better reflect the full scope of it.
I got through with the human resource. Okay, go ahead. I don't have any questions.
Great, anything else, Mary? All right, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the human resource and payroll generalist revised job description and grade change.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? The ayes have it. So moving to G, consideration and possible action to authorize the chair to sign the proposal for professional engineering services, NPDES Phase 2, Stormwater Program FY23, Stormwater Assistance with time bond in the amount of $100,000 to be completed no later than June 30th, 2024. Okay, what's going on here, Robin?
Heather's here on that one.
Heather, you want to come down and speak, please?
And actually, I would like to revise that no later than June 2024 to be instead just a contract not to exceed and ongoing services. Because, and as you're aware, you know, our stormwater permit has been around and we're in some various states of compliance and different things. And some of the items that they've outlined in this proposal, we need to have a review of our stormwater bylaws and make sure that we're compliant with the new regulations. But other of the items that since has happened because of the senior center and because of a 501 Main Street, we're actually probably already in compliance for our nitrogen reports, which is part of what they had to do to show that we could do 2 demonstration projects, and luckily, we've kind of already done them ourselves. So, but with that being said, there are so many different parts and pieces moving, and without having an operations manager right now in place, we're not really able to go out and staff doing the catchment investigations, nor do we have anybody who's been trained in doing them since the previous operations manager left. So I see it more of from this year, which ends in June for us for our stormwater permit, and going into next year to make sure we're trained through the summer and doing the proper things, making sure our permit's up to date. I did speak to Ty and Bond. They're absolutely fine with that. They understand, you know, they've been working with us with some of our moving parts already with our GIS and making sure that we're getting properly trained on how to monitor everything that we're doing. So, she's like, oh yeah, that's fine. So we'll just do a not to exceed 100 grand over the next, it was an article in last year's for funding, and this will give us a good start into next year, where we will look for more money because we will probably have to start doing construction projects, not just monitoring as we have in the past, so.
Okay, questions from the board?
No.
Any comments? All right, do we have a motion?
So let's see.
So we want to cut to be completed by,
yes.
in this fiscal year.
You want that deleted?
Yep.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, I'll make a motion that the board authorize the chair to sign the proposal for stormwater assistance with tie and bond in the amount of $100,000. Do you have an end date or just?
I don't
Period
even,
there.
until, not to exceed
Period.
100, yeah.
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor? The ayes have it. Okay. Then we're moving to H, consideration and possible action on the revised facilities coordinator job description to align with the classification study.
This was a pretty straightforward one. The facilities coordinator description, the title wasn't right, the format had never been updated. We're finding a lot of these, by the way, that the job descriptions were never updated when the classification study got done. So we're trying to clean those up as they come up or as issues may come up in that department. So this was one, went in front of personnel, and I believe personnel did finally pass. It got tabled for the day that I wasn't there, but.
Right, it was just the word manager and the grade.
And the format, I think. But
Yeah,
there was no change
format.
in grade on that. It was just correcting the grade to what it is.
Great. Okay, with that, unless there's questions, do we have a motion?
Wait, is this
I'm sorry.
the classification study that was done several years ago?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Anything else from you guys? All right, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the revised facilities coordinator job description to align with the classification study.
Second?
Second that.
All those in favor? The ayes have it. All right, we are moving on to I, consideration and possible action on the revised custodian job description and grade change.
I don't believe there was a grade change on that.
No.
Mary, correct me if I'm wrong. So it was just an upgrade on the job description to change some duties and tweak some language.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the action on the revised custodian job description and grade change.
Second.
I don't think it's a grade change, just
No.
job description.
Just job description.
Yeah, so just action on the revised job description. So do we have, and Mary Lou, you seconded? Mm-hmm. Okay, all those in favor? Great, thank you. All right, we're moving to J, consideration and possible action on the revised information technology specialist job description and grade change.
So as I understand it, when the classification study was originally done, this IT specialist was a new position, I think, at that time. So it was graded sort of based on what they thought the role would be. Barbara, at the time, I think, had some concerns about the grading being a little bit low, even then, given the nature of the responsibilities it might end up taking on. That has borne out. I mean, cybersecurity has become much more critical. We have towns being taken for ransom. The position is required to hold several licenses to be able to work on the sensitive equipment at the public safety facility. So it really is a high level of responsibility, and frankly, it's the bones of the town. If IT, as we all know, is critical. That goes down, we have issues. That becomes a cyber risk, we have issues. So I fully support this. This was taken to the Personnel Board for consideration. I think one of the things that are very difficult with classification studies is you also have to look at private sector comparisons too, which we don't necessarily see in these studies. IT is extraordinarily competitive, and so, but I think most importantly is the level of responsibility that this position holds, and I don't think that it accurately was reflected in the original classification study.
Right, and there wasn't a big jump. I mean, when it came to the grading, the marks were 7, 7.9, and 2/8.
Right, and it has been at a second level of 7, like they knew originally it wasn't the real 7, so they had it sort of this like 7B. And when I came on, we had some issues with this last year, that they were 2 grade 7s. So effectively, it should be an 8, and that's what we're recommending that it be.
Okay, any other comments? All right, do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the revised information technology specialist job description and grade change.
Wait a second.
Second.
All those in favor? The ayes have it. Okay, so then we're moving on to consideration and possible action on adjusting employee healthcare co-share. So Robin, you want us to go to a 70-30 split?
Yeah, and excuse my math, I have 65 and 45 equaling 100. That's what happens when I do a memo at 10 o'clock at night in my bed. So
it's mostly about recruitment?
yeah, it really is primarily about recruitment. Also, the fact that we were able to negotiate those rates down so low. And then they had assured me they wouldn't go higher than 4% this year. We really leaned on employees to be very cognizant of how they use their health care and treat it like a consumer product. Don't sort of waste it. In doing so, our model came back again extraordinarily good, and our increase for next year is 2.5, which is, they're saying 5 to 8 for most towns right now. So I think really the employees are doing a tremendous job. That is so cost beneficial for us on the town side when employees do that. Many of our employees are taxpayers as well. So by lowering those numbers, they're really helping on both sides. I really think, based on the efforts of the employees to keep the costs in check and participate in wellness programs and whatnot, and in addition to the recruitment, so from an end of current employees and future employees, I really feel very strongly about this. We are able to work this into the budget without any loss of services anywhere. We were ahead of the game last year because of the reduction that we did get. So I really would ask for your consideration on this. For the current team and for any recruitment that we need to do, and we do have a hard time competing right now.
Okay, I would like to see the numbers, what we've expended this year, as opposed to what we will with the new split.
Yeah, I can get that for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So can we please just get a statement, so what we spent, actually, I would like to see the year, I think we go back for all the changes. So we get, if we can get a chart of what was the initial split, last year's split, and this year's split, and the impacts on costs, and then also, if you can relate, probably a different chart, I guess, related to the
reduction.
Our negotiations with Maya and how that's impacted it.
Okay.
Does that sound all right? Anything else I missed?
Now, I know a lot of times in negotiations, we try to use a 10-town comparison. I'm not against this, but I would like to know, because you say we're not competitive, I would like to know what comparable towns are contributing.
I did do this last year.
I know you did.
Yeah,
If you
and
could
I
just
can
dig that
try
up
to see if they'll
and
do that
maybe
again.
update it, like if they're now even giving more than they did in the past, that would be, good to know as well, where we fall.
Yeah, I can try to get an updated from.
Okay.
But I think in taking into consideration, you'd really have to also look at a comparable of our salaries. So part of the challenge is our salaries are good, but there are better out there. So you might have somebody paying $10,000 more for the same position with a 65-35. So I can get you those numbers, but I do caution that our comparables on salaries are.
Well, we've always kind of been average, so I mean, I don't, if you want to give us that, but I don't necessarily need it to look at the health end.
Okay.
Because we're always kind of in the middle, as we have been kind of in the middle. If we're not, and you have documentation of similar communities, that's fine. That would be helpful. Even when we have to explain it to people who may not be supportive, when we say we're not competitive, the next question is, well, what is every other town paying?
And I will tell you anecdotally, the 70-30 is sort of on par, but I will.
Usually the further west you go, the closer to 50% it gets. So if you're...
There's a lot of, well, I don't want to use.
Well, no, I'm just speaking broadly.
Yeah, there's communities now that are trying to go the other way, reducing town shares because.
They're unpredictable costs.
The cost is.
It is complicated, but it is, listen, let's get the data. 'Cause we don't have to guess
Just
at
to
it.
have something to support it.
Okay, so I think we're tabling that for now. Is that fair? Yeah. Okay. All right, and then we are going consideration and possible action on the 2024 seasonal liquor license for Hemlock Ridge Golf Course / Lee Palmer, located at 220 Holland Road, Sturbridge, Mass.
It's an annual,
Just, he does it annually.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just seasonal, so he's the only one we have.
Please?
He's a seasonal one, he's the only one we have.
Yeah.
The paperwork?
I have my pile.
Oh, that's an amendment, okay.
Do we have Well, do we have any questions from the board on it?
No, I have no problem.
No issues? The police department's fine with it this year?
Everybody in the cell signed off.
Okay. Unless there's conversation, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2024 seasonal liquor license for Hemlock Ridge Golf Course, Lee Palmer, located at 220 Holland Road, Sturbridge, Mass.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We got 2 seconds. And then, all those in favor? Great. All right, and then we're on to the town meeting warrant. I think before we do that, I'm not going to make them sit here.
This is just a quick vote.
Okay, we're quick?
Yeah.
All right.
This is, we're not going through the articles.
Okay, I thought we were going through it. All right.
No, I make a motion that we open the annual town meeting warrant.
I'll second it.
You have an updated copy, but there's even more coming, so.
All those in favor? Yeah, I have it.
Beautiful, thank you.
All right, good.
Now we're compliant. That's
Great.
all
I thought we were talking.
No, just need to be compliant.
Excellent. Okay, so we are on to old business. We have 2 items that Robin asked to add to the agenda, which is a policies and procedures conversation and the previous abatement request on 425 Main Street. And sorry that you guys had to sit through such a long meeting.
So the last meeting, you all had asked Heather for some more information to discuss notification policies. Heather's here.
Well, I want to start there, because I don't remember asking Heather for anything. I asked Veolia for information, and I don't, this isn't a frustration with Heather, but
Yeah.
this conversation isn't what the town's doing, it's what they're doing. And the data we asked for was pretty straightforward. It was who else was on the leak list that they named the leak list in that period of time, and how many people had bills within this, presently like this, how expansive is it? And I guess we do have a sheet about it, but the policies and procedures and all that, we can have that conversation, I guess, but that's sort of...
Yeah, but I give Heather credit for putting this together, because I know somewhere, if not at the last meeting, several meetings, we've asked what can be done.
Sure. No, and you brought up, and don't get me wrong, I am not being negative about Heather's participation. It's not Heather's job, but this isn't her hill to die on a little bit. Die's a little strong there. But and I guess the question I had is, and for you, Robin, before we start, is with Veolia's present contractor, are they making more as we move at different gallons? So if we did they make more on the bill? No, so that's a static rate. So that was my first question.
There's no profit for them, if you will.
Yeah,
from a
which
leak.
would be
Yeah, that's a problem.
so.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's my...
Yeah, and I will say, we're in the process, I just have to get a blurb written up of putting that water spike list, leak list, whatever you want to call it, that indicator on reading day, that there was a 24-hour run of water on that particular day of a reading every quarter. We will put that up and explain that to people, what it actually means. Because if you have to fill a hot tub on that day, you're probably going to have that. So, or if you have an ice machine, you're going to have that. On the other hand, if you don't have any of those things, you might look and say, that's odd that was up that day. So we will post that on our website somewhere with a link to it and a little blurb, and we'll put out publicly that we are putting that out. So we're just in the process. I've just got to get a blurb together that's appropriate. And there is nothing on there that we cannot put out publicly. We did check from a standpoint of all of that is public information.
Okay, well, I do agree with our chair, though. It seems like if we discuss the policy and we had questions, then Veolia is the appropriate person to be present.
Well, the
during this
notification is going to come from us.
Actually, I made a mistake. They may be mistaken, but I do believe Veolia is under the DPW director.
I'm sure that's the case, but it's and there is overlap inherently in the positions. But the conversation began, but Heather works for the town. They are a private vendor servicing the town. So just that the attorneys could report to Robin, or that they report to us technically, but Robin, is the selects counsel under the point. Yes, there's a reporting relationship, but when we're talking about setting a policy, and we're talking about the data for water and sewer, that they're the holders of that data. They would be the keeper of
No,
it.
actually, Heather does.
Okay, so who made, so,
Heather, please.
Yeah, Heather, come on.
so who made the determination? Veolia or the DPW? I know you weren't here when it started.
Yeah, so it's the easy part.
Who made the determination to start having a leak report? Or who, no, because we're starting to kind of nitpick like who, the chain of command. And I guess my question is pretty straightforward. Was it our DPW director or was it Veolia?
So I don't think anybody made a determination that there's going to be a leak list, okay?
Well, that's not true. There is a leak list.
Well,
We're
but
running
that-
radio cars,
but-
and you referred to it as a leak list. Heather.
And we didn't know anything about it. So somebody made a determination.
No, so as part of the software that reads your meters, okay? So we have meter reading software that reads the meters, that they drive around in the truck and it actually reads the meters, okay? So that's a software that we take that data and download that data. When it comes through, it's called Badger. When it's on Badger, which we've seen Ion Water, that's part of Badger. One of the selections you can do when the data gets read is, are there any indications of leaks? You hit a search button, you run a report, and it can spit out a report. It can spit out reports for no readings.
But Heather, I'm going to interrupt you very specifically. Shane said unequivocally in the last hearing, this is a leak list. I knew about it 5 years ago, and I have it because clients make complaints. Customers make complaints. So please don't. Let's not defend This goes to the point I'm talking about. This is not your. Don't take ownership of something.
I'm not going to say.
No. But just let me finish. This is not yours to take ownership of. This isn't a problem that preceded you.
And I agree with our chair, the motivation, I understand what you're saying. The software made it available to generate this data, which makes it a very neutral type of motivation. But that isn't what we were told at the last meeting. It was, we started doing this in the event that residents complained about their bill. So, I mean, we could all watch it, so.
I am not sure who made that determination.
Okay, that's my question. So the software had the ability, to do it, but that wasn't the motivation for generating the data, because this all circled around saying, could we put something in the bills to alert people at an earlier point? And it went hand in hand with Shane getting the information that I wanted of $500,000 to change the technology. But then I said, well, can't we put something in our bills? And I don't know where that went. Obviously, nothing's gone in the bills.
The memo that I did put together, Barbara and I did discuss this, and I actually assist Barbara, and I do the review of the data before the things get billed at this point. So I am looking at high bills. I am looking at to make sure that there's not a reading. Sometimes readings get reversed. There can be issues. From a technical aspect, that is falling on my shoulders right now, just so you understand.
That's an additional duty. In the past, it
That has never been at DPW.
It had come out of finance only. We have found that there were many, many errors in those bills. As a result, we've asked Heather to step in and work with finance on doing this. It's a huge load, by the way, for both
What kind of
finance
errors were in the bills?
A whole host of errors in inputting and data entry that were
Because we weren't,
happening.
okay, so here's another thing. Not to you, but we weren't made aware of errors in the billing either. But we're the ones, when people request an abatement, the buck stops here, and yet we were not.
So we weren't aware of the errors
We were never
either.
made aware of any.
We weren't aware until Heather and Barbara started taking this over.
But then you decided to realign
we didn't
resources,
know about
and
it.
inherently, when you touch upon something like this, you are setting policy, which is this body's role, not yours. And we have two people here who have been sort of ripped off by the town because we have had a leak list that we referred to as the leak list, and knew that their property was leaking, and now we're...
Can I be clear, though?
But
on
we
the
did
errors?
have the
Can I just-
knowledge. We
but-
inherently had the knowledge, Heather, and there has to be a point of follow-up.
That's fine, but I do want to address, the mistakes we're talking about are things like, for instance, somebody was listed inactive and hasn't been billed for years.
But
they
Robin,
were-
in a
I'm just
quarter,
ex-
but
I
in
just
a
wanna
quarter,
explain.
how many people, when we go through the radio car, run water for 24 hours a day, which was the threshold of this, right? How many people are we talking about?
100.
Okay, 100. So 100 people in this day and age is not an insurmountable communication hurdle. It just isn't. There's automated, you can do email, you can do text message.
We don't have emails, we don't have phone numbers.
Well, I understand, but just because we don't have something doesn't mean we can't figure this out. But then you're all of a sudden going to tell somebody who's running a small business that they have an unexpected a budgetary assignment of $10,000. And I agree that the property owner is under an obligation to maintain their property to standard. However, once that line crosses over to a notice of the town and that we have a list, again, designated the leak list by Shane at that last meeting, and the purpose of that list is for when people call and complain about their bills, not to circumvent us wasting hundreds of thousands of gallons of water, that is problematic.
Well,
And that is not your fault.
No, and I do think, as I said, we can certainly put it out publicly, we can put notice that people are certainly encouraged to check it routinely. Every quarter, please check that list. And then, I mean, we can try to find a way, but again, our contact information is limited on those accounts. So we would have to then go through and send a separate mailing to each of those addresses, is pretty much what we're going to have. If
But
that's
you
what
get
the
a-
board asks, then
this
that's
is-
what
but
the
if
board
you
asks.
if you get a list of, if you say to people, you give us your email, we'll notify you if there's a problem at your residence. I'm sorry, it's 100 people on a list. It's not that much work.
I understand where you're coming from, and I do, in theory, totally agree. And we can ask people if they would like to be notified, but I will tell you, of those 100, we will get 2.
That's fine though, Heather, because what you're doing is that you're creating accountability on them, just in the way that you're putting accountability on that. If the program exists, if we have a solution that is proactive and they do not avail themselves of it, and then they get nailed in 2 quarters, it's fine. But then you can't, but the notion, the conversation previously was actively antagonistic to 2 people running a small business. And it was not appropriate, in my opinion. And I've gotten apparently more geared up about it as time, so I don't want to overdo it.
I don't.
And I'm not that, and my
No, and
frustrations were not with you, to be clear.
I understand that, and I do not think the purpose was to be, to try to make money for the town or anything of that nature.
I'm not accusing anybody of that.
And many people that are on that list are businesses that use a lot of water and regularly do, so we probably.
Yeah, OSF is not what our conversation is about.
Correct,
Yes.
right, but we have multiple businesses that use an immense amount of water on a regular basis.
They don't sell curiosities.
No, and I get that. But again, we try to review the list. We try to make sure that things are accurate, not the leak list. We
But
try to
Heather,
do everybody's bill.
Why are you, do not take ownership of this
I'm
issue.
not, I'm just
You're
trying.
new, this isn't you. This isn't, you've been here for 6
And I
months,
don't
you're
think
trying to
this was
fix it.
Shane's decision either. I just think it
I'm
was
not
a
saying it's
tool
a
that when
decision.
billing came in, this was a list that if this person had a high bill and they were calling, he could look and say, it looks like you might have a list.
Because this board was having several requests for abatements. And we checked our meters, and we said our meters are accurate, and the blame, more often than not, fell on the property owner. But again, I think it all originated with the amount of abatement requests
So
we
could
were
I just ask to
have.
let's just get very clear direction from the board tonight then? That would be one thing I think would be very helpful to Heather and me.
Yeah.
We will, so the board obviously would support us putting this list out publicly with a notification, please check this quarterly. And we can put a notice out in the next round of water bills, please send us your email if you would like to be notified. And I will tell you, I'm going to be honest, it's going to be a lot of work. But if that is the will of the board at this point, that is what we will do. If it becomes cumbersome for reasons beyond our, anticipation at this point, I will bring it back to the board. But we just need a clear direction of what it is you want us to do.
I feel that there's got to be some expedited way to notify. If it's putting a letter in, if it's putting it on Facebook, pay attention to your bill, call. People don't, people open bills and they, oh gosh, it went up again. And then they don't do anything about it. But, if people know there's a list out there that can maybe explain some of these things, and I do have to tell you, in all my years on the board with abatements, it's never been the town's fault. Never been the town's fault. And some of the decisions were a lot harder to make than the other. There was one decision that we couldn't decide whether it was the town's fault.
We went 50-50 on that.
But that's the only one.
So I guess, let me just give where I'm coming from. On one hand, we could just post and let people know on a website, on the Facebook, and that puts, and as it should be, the burden on the property owner to avail themselves and look and say, oh, okay, my address, I'm up there, I better do something about it. That's one level of accountability. The next one is where we actually notify everybody on that list. And to be honest with you, then it becomes like the town is taking on that responsibility where the property owners really should regularly inspect their own houses and properties to ensure that they're not, we can't put the entire burden, because then what's going to happen is if we have 100 people and maybe we were only able to get through to 85 people or whatever, those other 15 people are going to come and say, well, you didn't get in touch with us, we want a full abatement. And what will happen is it's really not the town paying for the abatement, it's all the other people who are on town services, because that's where the money's coming from. So you're asking all the other ratepayers to pay for all the people who had leaks if we're not able to get through. So I don't know how the board feels, but that's like a whole nother level. What we did up until now was egregious because we did nothing. We could have put something on our website saying, you know what, you might want to check your address and make sure you don't possibly have a leak because it's been running for 24 hours straight.
And that is very doable.
And that is extremely easy for us to do.
Very doable.
But on the other hand, for, I don't know, like now we've got 100 other people. They're going to come forward and they're going to say, you didn't tell us, you didn't tell us, you didn't tell us. It's going to be thousands of dollars.
People, for example, if we notify every week, let's say, if we were to notify every quarter, half those people might be businesses that we're going to notify every quarter because it's a business that runs water 24 hours. So that's why actively notifying versus saying to people, do you want to be notified, is a little more reasonable. But actively just sending it to people who are going to get one every quarter, because every quarter on read day, they go 24 hours.
There were two bills. If that would be, logic would be sound if it was one quarter where you got dinged. But there's two irregular bills coming on this property.
No, the first bill, the first.
No.
Well, next, this
and they're
quarter, they'll
going to
be
get hit on this one too.
Right.
So I agree with that, except it is like, this isn't, perhaps I'm oversimplifying, but it is like, all right, if you're, and all the other people, to Mary's problem with like all the people coming in, you got a 10-day appeal window. If you didn't appeal, tough. It's just how it works.
There's a whole process.
Yeah, and so
And people have gone through the process, and we've had appeals, and we've...
Yeah, so if you didn't appeal, you didn't appeal. This is how everything works.
Just let us know. If you want them to send it automatically to everybody, every 100, it's going to be a challenge, and I do tell you that...
My suggestion is not that. I am saying that if we are creating a system where we have, don't tell, it's not even the money or the cost, it's like, we're just wasting a lot of water for no reason.
It's the cost for the other people.
I'm on the water list. I'd rather have it deferred amongst...
Never home.
I just when you're coming...
No, it's true. We're wasting a tremendous amount of water.
We should be looking at conserving water, and depending on what it is, and if you even look at the chart that I sent of yours, at some times, her leaks were not very high, and it actually fluctuated, and then sometimes they were very high. So you can have a very slow leak and still get on there, where It's probably, it could be a drip, it could be something much smaller, I don't know, but.
I get it, but we had a leak list and nobody knew about it, and it's a problem.
I
So-
agree. I mean, at a minimum.
That will resolve immediately. We will get that up public.
I think,
That part's.
right, but then also in the next, personally, I think in the next bill, there is a letter that goes in with the water and sewer bill.
It can't be a letter. It
Well, I
can
mean,
only be
okay, I'm sorry, I gotta choose my words more. A little, a little slip.
blurb.
Okay, a slip. The town has software where we trace where properties are running 24 hours straight. This can be an indication of, hold on, this can be an indication of a leak, or in the event, maybe you're filling your pool for 24 hours. If you want it to know, we will be posting this on a regular basis. Please check our website. Why are you shaking your head no?
In theory, your concept is great. We can't send something that long. We
Well, that was
get
long. It was like
two
three
lines. We get two lines.
Mary got a little carried away.
That's what I was going to say. Cut out some of the words.
If the board is amenable, we will come up with a 2-line.
It's
or
very
I'll come up
brief,
with
what
something
we
and
have.
Heather will hack it to 2 to 3 lines.
Because we use a billing service,
Right.
we don't send
But I-
bills out ourselves.
we can get
It's a
something out.
service, we can only put what can
We
fit
can
on
do-
the
we can
actual
do
bill.
that.
But again, this notion that the vendors, like this tail wags the dog stuff, like we can't do it because of this vendor, Veolia is doing this, that doesn't cut it for me.
Well, wait a
No,
minute,
it's our-
I don't
it's
want
our
it to
bill.
just,
It's our
you're
billing
saying it's just going to appear on that bill?
Yeah.
That's the only thing we can do with
Why
the
can't
billing
you
software.
insert something?
We don't do that. That, what we do is we
Use a
take the
vendor to
file
do
and it gets sent out individually from somebody. That's
It's
why.
going to be really clear that people actually read it, because otherwise,
Can we just send a different letter?
that's right.
You
I
know, if
A lot, it's very expensive.
How many people are on the leak list?
We'd have to send it to every.
No, you have to send it to everybody. Do you want to be aware
Want
that we
us to do
have
a
this?
mailing to every water user? If
That
that's
seems-
what you want to do, I will
We're
draft a
arguing over
letter.
lines and words. Just
One mailing.
One mailing.
Saying, this list is out there, it's on the website, and here it is, and
Yeah,
please check.
that's the right way to do it.
And I'll take, Heather, I will take care of
No,
the,
and-
we'll find the postage, and we will just do it.
And then ask them to submit their emails at that same time in that letter.
Well, the emails are harder because then we proactively have to now
Right,
send
this
the
is-
email. This basically says to the public, you can come look at it, and every one of you is now aware.
This is
of it.
available.
I mean, they
That
have to
might
be
the fairest-
responsible themselves.
Because otherwise, we're going to put it all on us.
Because if we ever miss an email, if we do ask for emails and then we miss one by just a mistake, now we really do have an
But if
exposure
you're-
for the town.
But that's very dramatic. But I don't know, personally, I don't care how we stop having multiple bills where people are on the leak list, but this is not acceptable. And I don't, there's a policy that I'm espousing, this is ridiculous. This should never have happened. And frankly, it is on Veolia because they're the only ones who knew about the leak list that was in this present group. It just is. So, let the town know about it, figure out a communication strategy, fine. But like, this is the type of thing
So
that can't
is
happen.
everybody fine with what we just said? Everybody's agreed upon this? I will take the lead.
So when this letter
Cheaper
goes
and
out,
most efficient.
and there's going to be people that check, they'll have 10 days from the next bill to request an
No, they
abatement.
would call-
When does the clock
right.
start
So
ticking
they-
on
The bill.
appeal? That's what I mean.
Yeah, the bill, that doesn't change the policy of the bill. All that is someone looks and says, oh gee, when they read my meter last time, it was.
So I guess I'm surprised if we have this list where it's been running for more than 24 hours, or at least 24 hours. Why haven't we had more people come forward?
Because a lot aren't leaks. A lot aren't really leaks. They're people filling pools, they're ice machines, they're fridges that have an ice cube maker, they're, anything that has water that goes all day the meter could be running slowly for 24 hours. It doesn't mean the meter's pouring
You're
water.
saying that refrigerators who have
Every
ice
refrigerator
machine
that has an
are
ice-
going to be on the
Yes.
leak list?
Yep.
That doesn't make sense to me,
Yep.
because it's going to be more than 100 people. Almost every refrigerator makes ice.
Well, on that,
I mean, more than 100 people every.
Pulled on a date certain.
One day.
So they're driving around town for 5 hours is what he said.
Right.
And that's when it's pulling. So how many people out of all of the users, and then you're also assuming that you're getting a ping back. because you're not getting a ping back probably from
I
everyone.
know, but I get it, Jamie, but there's no way there's only 100 people with refrigerators with
It
ice
might be the
makers.
type of refrigerator.
There's no
It might
way.
be-
The vast majority of refrigerators now have ice makers.
Cold water every
Cold
day.
and everything. This is, it's right in the water and sewer regulations we have.
I know, I know, but what I'm saying is, I'm shocked that more people haven't stepped forward of those 100 people on this leak list saying our bill is way out of whack.
Because the bill might not be way out of whack.
They fill their pool. It
Yeah,
happens.
fill the pool, fill a jacuzzi, fill a hot tub.
And it could have been they only had a leak that
Business.
one day. Your toilet runs for one day, and you realize it, and you
notice your
fix it, and
plunger
it's not a
was-
big
right.
deal, and so you're on the leak list, but, oh, I jiggled
your
it, it's
basement
fine, you
toilet ran
know?
All I'm saying, okay, so once this letter goes out, in the next bill, and the people check, then we could
It's
have.
separate, actually, from the bill.
I get it. We could have many people, though, come forward requesting an abatement. That's all I'm trying to say.
No,
No, because they have 10 days. They have 10 days.
But they can, yes,
No,
but
this
they're going to
is
have
just
10
the list.
days from they're going to have 10 days from the time that the bill goes out.
Correct.
Okay? And in the interim, we're going to have sent a letter to people indicating, look, we have this software, we have the ability to know if the water's been running for 24 hours, please check. Okay? And the people who are astute are going to check. And then we are going to have an influx of people coming forward who were on that list 10 days after they get their next bill.
This first round, effectively.
Correct. That's
Yes, you are.
very clear to me. So I'm just
But they
telling
still
people.
have, at some point, they have to take responsibility for their leakage. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, that's what we're debating, I understand, Mary, that's what we're debating right now.
Yeah, I know.
So when they come forward,
I don't-
so, these people are here, but after that letter goes out, and people check, and then the next bill goes out, and they've got the 10-day appeal, we have to know what our policy is on those other people who will step forward.
Personally, then the leak list worked, and you have a leak on your property that you're supposed to address. So it is your obligation to maintain your property so you don't
But
have
those
leaks.
people in the first round, they're not going to be any different than the two property owners that are sitting here right now that you are outraged over.
No.
They're not
They
going to be any
could not be
different.
different. Odds are what they're going to be is just a pretty typical bill, because that's what most people are getting. So this is a statistical outlier generally. That's why there's so few abatements.
They would have already come forward if they had several $1,000 bill.
Yeah.
See, where I disagree is out of those 100 people, they're not all leaks. In this situation, it's a leak, but
Right, but even if 20% are leaks, that's 20 people.
then it fixed it.
So, I mean, and then if we have to have a bunch of abatement hearings, we have a bunch of
Whatever we
abatement
do for
hearings.
these people, we're going to have to be willing to do for those other people as well.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, I don't-
Every circumstance is different.
But Mary,
No.
if they come forward and say, we were on a leak
yeah, but
list,
Mary-
we were notified, and now we would like an abatement too, I don't see how that's different.
If they were
They
on the
would-
leak list.
That-
But they
right,
won't not,
Jamie.
but they won't necessarily, but you're building an assumption into it.
I'm building an assumption that there's going to be a percentage of that leak list that are leaks. Okay, I agree with Chase, it's not going to be 100%, but it's not only going to be this one property owner out of 100.
There'll be some, and they'll go through the process, and it doesn't start with us. It starts downstairs in the finance office.
Okay,
looking at
all right,
everything. I mean, we are not going to be inundated. I mean,
We're not going to be
everybody-
inundated, but I would be surprised if there's nobody else, that's all. I'd be very
Then
surprised.
we deal with it in due
Okay,
course
all right,
based
as
upon
long
the
as we're
facts.
willing to be consistent with other people that move forward, that were on a leak list, got a high bill.
Well,
When do we do the read again, Heather?
Then you're going to have to determine what is a high bill.
April
Is
1st.
$100 more
So let me just
high?
say this.
That type of week.
We're due to read again on April 1st. So the first list we're realistically going to be posting is that one, which is going to be bills that have not even hit yet. And so we may not be inundated because that list is going to come out before the bill hits. So theoretically, those people may rectify the leak and everything else. They're going to have that one bill, but it won't be well retroactive.
Won't be multiple bills.
Exactly.
It'll be one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, Mary, your point could be correct. It could be a real headache, but we have this,
Oh,
and we have to
little
fix it.
faith.
Oh, ye of little faith.
But it could be, I don't know, but like.
I wanted a note to go years ago when he came, enough said. I don't disagree. This is something that I had requested several years ago when we had.
You're the problem.
No. It just has to be, I like the approach where we post it, we let people know, because otherwise it becomes the town's duty to make sure people don't have a leaking toilet. And that's not fair to the rest of the ratepayers to like take on that.
I agree with that. Okay, so that's, I think, unless there's anything else on that. So then we have to talk about our actual friends at 425 Main Street. We've been very patient and we appreciate you. You guys got to the end of a long
This is
meeting.
a related discussion, at
Yeah,
least, so.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you, Heather.
All right. So, all right, so what was your bill again this quarter? The last bill?
I know, see, that was what we were gonna.
2,000, wait a minute.
Yeah, and we had asked for this one, but we don't have that. But what was it? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, let me.
Here's the exact bill, 2009.
$2,962.89.
All right.
Could you repeat that, please? My ears work slowly.
Oh, sorry. $2,962.89.
And we didn't catch our leak? We would never even appeal it. That's our responsibility.
Right.
No, we appreciate that.
We
And
just didn't know.
So, okay, what's the board's thoughts? Who would like to start?
Well, I am not in favor of an abatement.
Okay.
It was not the town's fault. We do not, only once, have ever changed that policy. If it's not proven it's the town's fault, it's the homeowner's responsibility.
Okay.
And I don't believe your theory about going back to the list and everything, thinking that that's the cause of.
Well, there's complicity. I don't know if it's the cause.
But the main gist of the thing is, they got a high bill, they appealed it, they went through the proper procedures, and the outcome was still determined to be what it is.
Okay. Mary Dowling, you want to?
I'm going to listen, and then, because I've been speaking quite a bit, and I'll.
That's why I try to be quiet.
Okay, I don't give Chase and Mary Lou an opportunity.
So I am for an abatement for some percentage. I do feel like there was some fault as to the homeowner, as to the running toilet. But I do feel like with information that the town had and warning signs that we could have provided you, I am for some percentage of an abatement.
I agree with Chase. My only concern is repercussions from prior people, but like you said, they had 10 days to appeal. If they didn't, you lose out.
What it is.
So I'm in favor of an abatement as a percentage.
Yeah,
That percentages, I'm not
Yeah, I am,
sure.
may I?
Sure, of course.
I'm not even in favor of a percentage, because I look at it as, besides the wastewater, that the other ratepayers are footing the bill on this. I mean, I pay my bills. I'm not about to pay any other bills.
Sure. Well, I mean, but that logic, though, every time the town does something wrong, every taxpayer is a quorum, and we're in the smaller population that's on the bill. Oh, it is. It's exactly apples to apples. But the...
Jamie, you got that wrong.
I'll learn someday. But the, I'm tend to align with Mary Lou and Chase. I just don't know how to split the split it up, so.
Well, I think did we meet the last? 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago? I didn't know if it was a month ago or 2 weeks. I said that I was willing to go 50/50, but I know we deferred until this meeting. I mean, everybody's right. You know, Mary is right in the sense that the water was used. It is always the property owner's responsibility to make sure that they do due diligence on their own property, because otherwise the rest of the ratepayers make it. Unlike the past, again, to reiterate, we didn't know there was a leak list, and we had the ability to know if water was running 24 hours a day, okay? So that is different than in the past when we haven't abated at all, because this is new information that the town actually has that could have mitigated. You know, if you went to court and you're suing for breach of contract, you might have breached the contract, but the other side has a duty to mitigate their damages. And so I feel like we could have helped mitigate because we had the information. So in that sense, you know, the town has to accept some responsibility when we had this information and we didn't do anything with it. You know, so that's why the last time I thought, I have a problem with 100% abatement, because then what we're telling everybody is, because we have a list and know when there's a leak, you're totally absolved. You don't have to maintain your own property. You don't have to look to see if you have a leak. You don't have to do anything, because you were on this leak list and the town had that information, so it's our problem. And that puts everything on the town. It puts everything on the ratepayer. So I can't do that either. I had said 50/50, which is probably still where I'm personally coming from. But if, you know, someone thinks 60/40, I mean, I listen to other percentages, but to me, that's kind of right down the middle.
It's as logical as anything, yeah.
I agree.
All right, well, do we have a motion?
I have a question. May I?
Sure, but briefly.
It does have to be a motion first. I don't know.
No, just with your question.
If we're talking about this particular bill, and we have one at least this high coming in again.
Behind it.
Again, because of the October 6th.
That's not presently before this board, so.
We have to do this all again.
to come back again?
You technically have to appeal. It is just because that is the point we're saying to everybody else. And I know it's frustrating, but that is, and it is formalistic, but I think that that's the right.
And I mean, of course, it should be different because you've apparently known about the leak list for quite a while. So.
We knew it on October 6th, and we didn't know it. They knew it on October 6th. We didn't know it until February 8th, and so it covered January and the beginning of February.
Yeah, I apologize for being.
We certainly would have acted on it.
Yeah, I do apologize for being unduly formalistic, but I just think that's how it works.
And the thing is, when you appeal it, it may not, and I don't know, it may not come back to the board if the first people that you see are aware of this board's view on that. It may possibly get abated at an earlier point. I don't know that, I mean, but you may end up back here.
May I ask, is the first appeal the one through Shane that we did?
No.
No,
It's myself, Heather, and Barbara.
Oh, okay.
I will say that typically, when I came on board and I spoke with Barbara, typically the only time it's dealt with at that level is if there is a clear error on the town's part, like the meter wasn't reading properly. Otherwise, because you are the water sewer commissioners, that will come to you.
Yeah, it's how it
It's the
feels,
way
right?
it is, yeah.
And it's just how it works, sorry, guys. But the, so we have a bill that is pending before us for $2,962.89. Do we have a motion about abatement?
I'll make a motion to abate the bill at 425 Main Street of $2962.89 by 50%.
I will second that. Do we have all those in favor? Those against?
And you already paid that bill, correct?
You did.
So you're going to get reimbursed.
Okay, how does that work?
Yeah, let's reach out to finance in the morning,
Yeah,
okay?
you will get reimbursed.
All right, guys, thank you so much.
I think we might we see you again next month? Huh?
And
Perhaps.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Well, also, I just want to ask this. I know the policy is, you pay and then you request an abatement, but we also offer payment plans.
Yes.
We've done that in the past, so
When you get the bill, you could get on an
you don't have to
established
come up
payment
with the
plan.
full, whatever that next amount. It's probably won't be
Still going to be
3,000.
prohibitive regardless of whether we pay it in
It's still
checks
what?
or not. It still will be very prohibitive for us, whether we pay it in checks or not.
I understand.
Don't worry about a slew of people coming before you for abatements. It is such a complex and laborious process that takes so much time, and there are a lot of roadblocks to get here. So-
Well, actually, all you have to do next time is email me, we meet, we make a decision, we move it to the board. That's the process.
No,
Yeah, so you just, it will make it, it should not be
And by the way,
laborious.
people were told at the outset, goes to the water meter is what you owe, and you can try for an abatement, but they won't abate it, is what they're told. That's probably why people don't come forward.
Well, actually, just to correct that, we have had several people request abatement since I've been on the
Right, but a
board.
bunch of the people who were on the leak list and did respond on Facebook
We understand.
did not come because they were told, no, you
They don't always have the facts on Facebook.
Yeah, and listen, we understand your point. We've obviously abated, for the reasons stated, so, all right.
Thank you, and just reach out with the next bill.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, now, other old business, I think. Mary, do you have any other?
Nope.
Mary Down?
So the sign is still coming?
Yes.
What's the latest?
I just heard from DOT today because Joe worked with them. We're going to have to do one small lane closure, so it's active. It's active. Again, that was a very significant injury that the person had.
Right, no, I get it.
Yeah.
Anything else, Mary Down?
No, not old.
Chase? No, thank you. All right, I have no old either. New business, Mary?
Nope.
Mary?
So our retreat is this Saturday? Yes. Okay, so I was hoping that we could visit our fiscal policy on how much we keep in cash reserves through the reserve fund and free cash. If we can have our existing policy at that.
Okay, so you want to do that day?
Well, I mean, it's.
I just feel like finance should be.
Yeah, we should be, that's not fair.
FinCom might want to be aware of that.
Well, all right, well, we still have to, let me just state for the record. Right now, we have a fiscal policy that we don't follow because we retain more than what we need. And now we have no standard to determine when and if we give money back to the town, to the residents in warrant articles. Now we have another year where we're not giving anything back. I don't have a problem if we adopt a new policy that says, no, we need to keep more than up to 10%. We need to keep X percent, and we stay within it. But right now, it's just always, well, we've got a lot, coming down the line. We need all our free cash. We're not following any standard of review. We had a fiscal policy and we were not. I mean, I asked, Mary asked about the free cash. We have more free cash than that we have had in prior years. I did ask about reserve fund, which is a separate, when I was on the finance committee, they were reserve fund transfers from the reserve fund to free cash. So there was two. I didn't articulate it well, but we had thought there was 100,000, but no, we've got almost 2 million.
It's a broad stabilization, yeah.
It's a reserve fund. We have free cash, and we have what's called a reserve fund. We thought we had 100 grand in there. We have 1.9 million. So it wasn't an insignificant amount. Okay, that's all I'm saying. It's not an insignificant amount. We have free cash, and we have that, and we have stabilization funds for water and sewer and the ambulance, which are also reserve aspects. We have to know at what point do we have enough, given the size of our budget, and at what point should we be offsetting some of it like we used to. It's not a lot of money, 300,000, 250,000. it's a nod, like some of our prior TAs have said, well, you got to give a little back, but we don't even know what we give back anymore. We haven't given anything back in like 3 or 4 years. And before that, for the other 10 years I sat on this board, we did. And I haven't been given a good explanation as to why we don't do it anymore. And I just think finance should be, if we don't want to do it at a retreat, but we've got to look at that policy and come up with a new written policy that will be a guideline for us. Because at some point, we have to say, we've got plenty. When the schools have more than 5% by law, they're required to give it back. And when we do that review, I want to know what other comparable towns are retaining in their reserve funds. And are they keeping just as much? Are they keeping less? Are they keeping more? Because to just be told, well, we've got a lot of capital expenses coming up. We always have. We had a new high school, we had a new Burgess, we had a new center office building and town hall renovation, and we've always managed to give something back, and it has not affected our credit rating at all. In fact, our credit rating still was going up. So I think we need to have a serious discussion, and we need to, if we need to alter that policy, let's do it. But we need some kind of a standard that we follow. And if we don't want to do it at the...
I was just going to say, I don't think Saturday's the place for that.
Okay,
I agree.
that's
Let's
fine.
put a placeholder at a public meeting, one of our, probably next one in 2 weeks from now, and let's put a line item and have that discussion.
It's going to come up as part of budget discussion anyway, so it's the timing
so
for
it's
it.
a natural time.
I do want to, I do just very quickly want to point out, the one thing in the warrant that is updated is the potential capital, the proposed, what was voted on by the capital committee this year, and it's 3.116 million out of free cash. And the reason for that is that the borrowing cost is so high with interest rates. So and I don't want to open the discussion, but just to be clear, one of the reasons we like to maintain that level of free cash is so that in a situation like this, when interest rates are absolutely ridiculous, the cost of borrowing that money, it would cost the taxpayer more on a debt exclusion than what we could give back.
But here's my point. When you say, maybe because I'm putting on my lawyer hat, when you say we want to maintain that level,
right.
We don't know what the level
No,
is.
I agree,
as
there should be a
percentage
policy.
anymore. We
There
have
should be a
no
number.
standard.
Yep.
We just say the old policy doesn't
Well, and you can
reflect.
relate it to interest rates. There's all sorts of things. you
Yeah,
can do.
but, we have to have
There should be a
standard.
guideline of some sort.
You know,
And they were a weird few years. Yeah, but it was the last 3 or 4 years were weird, and getting it back on board so we know what the future is makes sense. So, okay, Mary, anything else on that?
No.
I do have to get my self-evaluation to you all.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's Chase.
No, thank you.
Mary Lou? No. Okay. Correspondence.
Yeah.
Michelle, you had it so nice for me. We have a letter from Central Mass Regional Planning dated February 27th, enclosing a copy of the fiscal year 2025 assessment schedule. We have a letter from the Central Mass Mosquito Control Project dated February 29th, 2024, showing what the budget amount is for mosquito control contribution from the state. We have a notice of informational hearing from the Alcohol Beverage Control Commission for Deep Roots Distillery. And then we have a letter from Sovereign Consulting for a permanent solution with no conditions for pilot travel. Great.
All right, and then we are on to approval of minutes for both December 5th.
Well, on correspondence, we all, I assume, got those emails.
Oh, right, about Kurt Boyd's. Yeah,
And good response.
yeah, thanks. Thank you.
We got, so should we say what they are? We got letters from concerned residents regarding the what is taking place at what used to be Curboy. Yeah, that's what we used to call it. What the current business is doing, as well as a response by our town administrator. And we have a show cause, I believe, or a...
It looks like April 1st, I believe, at the April 1st meeting? Yes.
Okay, so, yeah, thank you, Mary.
All right, so I think we're on to the minutes now. December 5th, 2022 is the first one.
Catching up on some old ones.
All right, yeah, there's Ian.
Guess he's not going to vote on what he said.
Wake him up.
Let's give him a call. All right, so any changes for Michelle on the December 5th, 2022?
I already packed it away, but not when I read it, so I'll make a motion to approve
And Mary,
the minutes.
Chase, you have anything?
I have nothing.
All right, Mary has a motion to approve the December 5th minutes. I'll second it. All those in favor? The ayes have it. All right, moving to April 4th, 2022.
Just note that I can't
Oh,
vote.
yeah, Mary Lou
I
abstained.
can't vote.
And then, again, moving to April 4th, 2022. Any edits on this one?
I remember it like it was yesterday.
I wasn't even here. I wasn't even here.
When I read it, I didn't.
Yeah, I didn't see anything either. All right.
Approve it. was voted.
All right.
It might have really voted on it.
All right, make a motion to approve as written, and we have a second.
No, I said approving.
Oh, you did, you said it, all right. Good, then I'll second. All those in favor? And we have one abstention. All right, citizens forum, none of that tonight.
Very quick executive.
All right, and then we need a motion to go into executive session and adjourn.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, can I just have one more bit of old news? So at our retreat, we set our new goals for the year, correct?
No, I'm just laughing.
Okay. I also, can we add a discussion about the 2 part-time positions?
What
to our
two?
retreat?
It's not even in the budget.
Okay, you
I
took
just
it out.
lowered the position to 1 part-time and
And then the other one was dropped?
it's just 1 part-time. I can't add a position that wouldn't go through personnel anyway.
Okay, so, but there, so I know at one point you wanted to make them 2 part-time. It's
I
off the
just
table.
reduced the hours to a part-time position in the budget, and I will address that with you. I'm happy to
okay.
talk about it Saturday, but
Okay.
there's no other job.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so on executive session, do we have a motion?
Oh, I have to read it, right?
It's on the,
You don't have any information
it's on the
yet.
agenda. I didn't make that separate for you.
No, I know, that's fine. I'll make a motion that pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21, subparagraph A2, we go into executive session to conduct strategy in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel.
It's crazy.
Or personnel.
Yes.
Or union personnel, I'm going to add.
Yep.
Or discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the police union if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the board and the chair so declares. Jamie, do you declare?
I so declare. All right, so we need to,
And that you won't,
And we
Yeah,
will
not
not
reconvene.
reconvene in open session.
Is this page 1?
Gotta take a vote.
yeah, no. Mary Lou, how do you vote?
What am I voting on? I'm sorry.
To go into executive session and...
Yes.
Chase, how do you vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Mary Dowling, yes. Jamie, yes.
it's like being in school when you pass things
All
out
right.
during your talking, it just throws out.